I think we're recording. He's giving me the
nodded.
thumbs up. I wasn't looking. I was going to try to look at the doc
I
and
like
be
how you're like,
professional.
let me know, and then you're like, I didn't look at you, actually.
I didn't look at you at all.
The disrespect.
I apologize. I thought it
What a
was going to
power
be a
move.
more verbal situation, but it wasn't. So, the Indie Council is in session. Welcome. This is a place for leading voices from across the industry to gather to talk news, titles, and everything indie. I'm your real master of ceremonies, Jill
Wow.
Grote, the Indie Informer.
Not like us fakies over here.
Not like the unfortunate circumstances of last week.
Unfortunate?
I was sick. That's unfortunate.
I thought you were calling me unfortunate.
No, you're
I feel
lovely.
like fair. Oh, okay.
But joining the council today, besides me, fighting heart disease with pen to pixels while still making time to help out Min-Max and Kind of Funny, Janet Garcia. How you doing, Janet?
Good. Excited to be here. I just finished my lunch at 4 o'clock.
So I have a quick qualm to pick with Janet.
Oh,
Janet, I don't know what it says about my hosting duties.
Mhm.
She was fine eating a cake while on air last week. But all of a sudden, Mom comes back and she has to finish her lunch first. No, Mom can't see me eat food.
Here's the thing.
But dirtbag Mike, it's
Or
fine.
is that
Shove it
something
in.
Sandwich. Well, first of all, this is episode 9, so like there's nothing to celebrate
Yeah.
there. It's just a regular
Yeah.
day. Episode
it's
8,
9. It's fine.
that was a big deal for us. Huge
Sure.
milestone. If you make it, shout out to us. 2, a cake you can eat in silence. Nothing bundt cake that can be eaten in silence.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to chew it. It kind of just slides down the gullet. A sandwich, the bread was toasted. What I have to we're gonna get the crunch. There's gonna be crumbs everywhere. I have to it's not as easy to get away with. And I also admittedly almost did cut the cake specifically to eat on the show. Like it wasn't in my plans to eat the cake. And I was like, I'm just gonna show up to the show with a cake and see how it goes with the community. But yeah, you live and you learn.
That
It's
makes
true.
sense.
Sonic did say that before. It's true.
Giving off the best vibes at Geeks and Grounds, Soft Knot Week, Kepler Interactive, and Wholesome Games, Jenny Wyndham. How you doing, Jenny?
Pretty good. It's raining, so I am happy. I'm so happy. I love the rain. I love tea. I love cats, and just not doing anything. I have to work on the not doing anything part, but everything else is going good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the whole nice idea of getting snugly in a blanket and not thinking, but then as we might discover later in the show, that's not always possible during this time of year. Bum, bum, bum.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, we're good at it. Creative director at 61 Indie and the goat that dislikes goats, Mike Downshow.
I don't dislike goats. I don't trust them. I respect the hell out of goats. Satan, you kidding me? Good goat.
Yeah.
And goat cheese.
Goat cheese is good if you can get close enough to them. But I mean, we do have a little brainstorming doc for everybody who wants to know behind the scenes stuff. And the first topic that Mike decided to put in there was how untrustworthy goats were, and just a whole list of things that you can't trust about goats. And it went on for a surprisingly long time.
Listen, a young 7-year-old Mike in Lake George, New York, at some petting zoo, a goat came up to my mother and unsolicitedly attacked her. Since then, I haven't trusted goats. She's okay. She's still with us.
Okay,
I'm
that's
so
good.
sorry that happened to you.
I was
Thank
gonna
you
say,
for
a goat
being
killed your
brave enough to
parents?
share
Oh my
your
God.
story here.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Wow.
trusting us with your story, Mike.
Of
It's not
course.
easy.
Yeah,
but...
it's a safe space.
Yeah.
Jill, you listened to
Raising
the show
awareness.
last week.
I did.
If you could have any animal part, what would it be?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
You had a whole week to think about it.
I was feverish with sickness. I didn't think about what I would want. Maybe because I was thinking maybe a dog's nose or something, so I could smell the world in different colors. Doesn't make sense, but
Sure.
then you just have to smell everything, and not everything's great.
It's true.
So
We could alter it so it's only good smells.
only good smells I'd like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
But then what if something is really bad smell and I'm not aware? What if I'm walking into a murder and I don't know it?
Wow, you're walking into a whole
What
murder?
smell before
Wait,
the
what?
murder happened?
Yeah.
There's
I
a
was
dead
gonna
body
say.
What is-
somewhere and I'm walking by I'm about to be framed for murder for some reason. and I don't know that there's a dead body. Actually, here's the thing. My my partner actually has a very, very like clinically bad sense of smell, and he did not know this, and we only discovered it because he kept poisoning himself with bad lunch meat.
Oh
And
my
it wasn't
god.
until I was
Wow.
like near him while he was making a sandwich for like the next lunch day that I'm like, that's terrible smelling. And he like had no idea. So there are drawbacks to that.
That's horrifying. Also, see, this is exactly why I didn't bring a sandwich to this episode. 'Cause it's like I just knew it's not like a good place for eating a sandwich.
Yeah, it is not a sandwich safe zone. I feel like I've said this on this podcast before. Is that just me?
Who knows anymore?
Why would we
I don't know if
have
you said it
any
before, but
reason?
we definitely have felt it before. You know
Yeah,
what
Yeah,
I
I
felt it in
mean?
the
Like,
spirit.
it's the
yeah.
urge to not eat a sandwich here. While we are talking about very important things, let's move on to indie news. We have the what we hope is the final update for the Unity saga. We got an open letter from Mark Whitten on September the 22nd, essentially rolling back a whole bunch of things and hoping people won't be mad at them anymore. So I'll go ahead and read maybe not all of it, but some important parts to it. So it starts out I want to start with this. I am sorry. Pretty good start.
Great.
We should have spoken with more of you, and we should have incorporated more of your feedback before announcing our new runtime fee policy. Our Unity plan will remain free. There will be no runtime fee for games built on Unity Personal. So that's the like lowest tier. We will be increasing the cap from 100,000 to 200,000, and we will remove the requirement to use the Made in Unity splash screen. So that wasn't really a part of all of this. That was something that was a policy before, but just to like have some extra sweetness on there, they've decided to remove that to make people less angry. No game with less than 1 million in trailing 12-month revenue will be subject to the fee. For creators on Unity Pro and Unity Enterprise, which is next one's up, we'll be making changes based on your feedback. The runtime fee policy will only apply beginning with the next LTS version of Unity, shipping in 2024. So that takes on the retroactive issues, which is nice. Your games that are currently shipped and the projects you are currently working on will not be included unless you choose to upgrade them to this new version of Unity. We will make sure that you can stay on the terms applicable for the version of Unity editor you are using. For games that are subject to the runtime fee, we're giving you a choice of either a 2.5 revenue share or the calculated amount based on number of new people engaging with your game each month. Both of these numbers are self-reported and they have that highlighted. And I kind of want to talk about that once we're done reading this. From the data you already have available, you will always be billed the lesser amount. And then there was a fireside chat that went live, and I didn't get to check it out because I was sick. But I hope that was one heck of a time. So, thoughts on this? How are we feeling? Let's go with Jenny.
Um, I mean, it's one of those things where, and I saw a lot of sentiment along these lines as well from just developers that I follow on social and folks I've talked with. It's like, I guess we take this for what it is, but also the trust is still broken, and I think everyone's also just exhausted at this point, and they're just kind of like, we just need to like also get back to making the games that we're trying to make and not have to deal with all of this legal stuff that we didn't even think about until it became a big thing.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think at least from folks I've talked with, it's an element of, well, glad that at least for now things are kind of staying how they are, but there's some wording still that's a little bit like because there's an element. I think you said like the upgrade, like as long as you don't choose to upgrade your engine, like you'll stay with the same thing, but that's not necessarily the developer's choice all the time. Like you don't necessarily get to pick what part of like what edition or what number of the engine you're building on. And so that's one flag that I saw people post. But ultimately, I think a lot of people are still in the sentiment of, well, we're going to do what we can with Unity right now. We're definitely going to scope out other places to build our games a little bit more securely, or at least emotionally securely.
Yeah. I think kind of going along with this and the like, now that you've burned trust to the ground, something that I picked up on was the self-reported numbers, which means like they promised they had some kind of proprietary technology that knew all of this ahead of time. So why are they self-reporting numbers now? Is it the case that they didn't have that before? Or I saw a very good discussion on this with Alana Pierce with her channel, and they were talking a little bit about like how taking that kind of information might break laws in certain places in the world. And um yeah, I was wondering if they had that technology but realized that it was super sketch and pulled back on it, or whether or not, or if they just never really had it to begin with. Um, yeah, that's another thing that for me is just a little sign that maybe it's great. All of the things that they are saying here seem to be addressing a lot of the problems that people had, and but I still don't think that everyone is 100% going to, like, how many people are going to upgrade to the next uh thing in 2024, you know? Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, at the end of the day, with the self-reporting number business, like it legit, it's none of their goddamn business. Like the devs are paying for a service, they're using the engine, what they create and what they sell is all up to the developers. So like Unity doesn't need to know those numbers. So yeah, I could see whatever tracking tech they potentially had in their back pocket. Yeah, it sounds super sketchy, super illegal. So maybe they had to take a step back once the devs started kind of like digging into it a little further. But yeah, just to kind of reiterate what Jenny said, like the trust is broken. Everything's done. Like I'm sure like everybody is going to finish their current projects and do their best to learn Unreal, do their best to learn Game Maker, what have you, and yeah, call it a day. The same ghouls are at the round table of the conference room. Like it's there was no real consequence when it came to the people that were up to this decision. So yeah, it would be a different story maybe if like somebody stepped down and things restructured on the top end, but no, I mean like clearly they're looking for, and obviously it's all speculation, but like I'd imagine they are looking for some sort of loophole to figure out how to make a buck off the devs still.
Janet,
One thing
what do you got?
oh,
Oh,
I
No, no,
just
go
want
ahead,
to
Jenna.
flag
Go for it.
one element about the forum. I didn't check out the whole open forum chat. I had to kind of be in and out because I was in meetings throughout the day. But I did find it really interesting that they chose like it was absolutely a PR move on their part to pick an influencer to host that chat. And it was a
Oh yeah.
creator on YouTube who I'm not familiar with his work, but he's known for creating tips and tutorials and like he covers Unity a lot. And so I thought it was a really interesting move on their part to pick a creator to facilitate this chat. And yeah, I think again, it was largely negative in the chat, but also with with a grain of salt, YouTube chats are also largely negative in a lot of the bigger live streams. So I
mm-hmm.
don't know if that was necessarily indicative of the conversation. But yeah, so that was just an interesting point that I noticed.
Yeah, I think it's nice to see that at least a lot of this has been walked back, which I
Hmm.
honestly wasn't really super optimistic on. I thought they were kind of just gonna sort of mostly go down with the ship and try to keep it as core to what they initially pitched as they could. Um I this is it's weird good news because it's like it's good news, but then like
Mm-hmm.
stares intensely at camera because it's like uh, sure, in a technical sense, this is good news, like at least in the short term, especially, like y'all have mentioned, people that are already too deep into their projects to really change course can maybe breathe a momentary sigh of relief in terms of just like what's going to happen next with them and their projects. But yeah, I think it's if it wasn't already going south for Unity, this is definitely the beginning of the end as word continues to spread about this and people really push to, I think, learn different engines to just avoid the drama altogether. I think the only good thing that can maybe come out of this is scaring everybody else and every other engine being like, oh my God, like we really have to make sure that we, again,
Don't fuck
capitalism
up.
can force good decisions sometimes too. And like right now, the best thing you can do for the business is also like a good thing to do, which is to try to preserve the relationship with the devs in terms of how much you're nickel and diming them and trying to make sure that
Mhm.
you ease up on taking too much and making sure that you're providing that value. So I'm hoping that all other engines, besides like having, their cheeky posts about like, come here where we're not going to screw you over, like, and that's very valid and we need those conversations. But I hope they also use that time to further commit and build some safety in place in terms of like their terms of service so that if a developer is deciding to go to, you know, Unity or any of the other platforms, really, especially the smaller ones, that I think it's a little bit easier for them to make that kind of call. They're like, hey, not only do we want people who are coming in to feel welcomed here, we want them to feel a safety and security that they didn't feel at their last engine. So if anything, like I hope that's the good that can come out of this. But yeah, still definitely a lot of damage. And I think, again, it sounds dramatic, but I think it's true. It's going to like kind of change, I think, how games are made going forward. Like fundamentally, like a lot of people who are either, versed in this engine or were getting into things are going to change course. And we don't know what kind of ramifications that will have in terms of the stuff that gets created. Again, you can make a good game in anything, anywhere, whatever, but um it still is gonna, I don't know, it's gonna reverberate in a really weird behind the scenes way that I really hope someone's out there making a documentary on, because I
Mhm.
think it is obviously unfortunate, but it's also, I think, fascinating what we're gonna see come from this years down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we talk about the Relogic stuff last week, or did that post after we recorded?
I think I posted after.
It posted after.
So yeah, kind of that on that end, Relogic posted the whole PNG statement, and towards the back end of it, they said, "quote We are donating $100,000 to each open source engines listed below, which is Godot and FNA. Additionally, we are sponsoring each of these projects with $1,000 per month." Each moving forward. All we ask in return is that they remain good people and keep doing all that they could do to make these engines powerful and approachable for developers anywhere or everywhere. So I feel like, yeah, like I think you would hope to think a lot of these engines that were clapping back are being genuine and are paying attention and will hopefully make dev friendly decisions moving forward, even if it is for some sort of capitalist gain. Because listen, we live in a shitty world. We have to make money. It is what it is. But yeah, it was nice to see that the Terraria folks kind of post that and put some sort of security blanket with a big old check.
Yeah. I 100% would love to see like Rebecca Valentine be on the case on this one, and we get a year later, what does Unity look like sort of
Yeah.
report. But that's going to have to be far away. But what's happening right now? Shmup Fest.
the hard the hard cut to Shmup Fest.
I was like, how do we transition away? This is such a this is a serious, weighty, like gravitas type topic. We all need to cheer up a little bit, like I
Like, do
don't
you
want to
want
make
to turn on a game and just start shooting things? It's like that's
you
kind
want to
of
just
also too violent. Like I don't know how the tone is hard to find in the transition to Shmup Fest.
Jill was out of office last week because she was shmupping up some Unity
I was
execs.
Yeah.
shmupping up
Oh,
so
God.
much.
Oh no.
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 So
Anyways.
Steam is doing a shoot 'em up fest and it's going now until October the 2nd. So you don't have too much time, but there are a lot of really cool games going on there. Lakai? Did we figure out how to say this word?
Lakai?
Lakai?
I don't know.
Leica?
Leica?
Oh, it's Leica.
That
I think it's
sounds right.
Leica.
Leica
Wait.
Age Through Blood is up there for a free demo if you didn't get to check that out.
It is
Goobies
great.
has got a demo if you want to join the Goobies gang with
Hell
us.
yeah, who doesn't?
Lunar Abyss is a really cool indie shooter. Typically not my kind of genre, but it is really cool. It is really slick looking. It feels really fun to play. Go check it out. And then The void reigns in her heart. I feel like we've spoken on this
Yeah,
game.
I
Yeah,
added
we
that one
have.
because I've been playing it just as like a hey, I'm gonna just vibe and relax before bed, and you can just like do a couple runs, and it's on sale, and it's a very very good game. I don't usually like sort of bullet hell shmup type titles, but I love this one, so gotta
Go
highlight
check it
that.
out
Yeah.
before October the 2nd. Is anybody else into this? I think there's a game that I've been playing that kind of goes into this genre, but I don't think is here. Anybody else want to shout anything out going on there, or just in general, shoot 'em up they like?
Yeah, real quick. Project Downfall is a really good like retro inspired FPS that came out late last year. I want to say like around December. That's a part of it. It might have a demo. There's no sale or anything. And just quick little shout outs to Beyond the Long Night and Heretics Fork, which are two mini indie showcase alums. They're
Yep,
part of this as well.
100%.
Um, and another alum, Super Space Club, also on sale currently. Full disclosure, I did the PR for it, but Graham has been a friend for like 5 years, so
Yeah,
just go support Graham.
and it made my top games to play while you're sick. So keep
Yeah.
that in mind.
Nice.
Oh, and
A little ominous, but
Ocho, one of the best games of the year that not a lot of people talk about. It's spelled OTXO, but if you like Hotline Miami,
Yeah.
Ocho rules. It's currently
yeah,
on
I
sale.
think too. I'm kind of in a similar boat to Jenny, where I don't play a lot of shmups, but every now and then it's kind of like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess that is a shmup. They have Super Raft Boat Together included in Shmup Fest. I played this a while ago during one of the many Steam Next Fests, and it is really really fun. It is kind of in that, going in and doing a quick run kind of situation. It has multiplayer, which is really fun. And there's a lot of like charm and chaos in the characters. You can be like a penguin, and like, I think there's like a shark character, and there's aspects of, so the kind of premise is that you're heading in and there's like this very small raft that you're on, and you're like crossing dangerous waters, shooting things up as you do in a shmup. But the raft is also getting larger over time, and it has that kind of rogue run vibe where, you stop at a big boat and you can like buy an upgrade. So, and there's like, you can get off the raft and go into the water, and you can do these like other aspects. So it's kind of cool the way they really crafted this roguelike shmup around the raft itself, and like messing with the size of it and trying to grow it over time, and sort of just playing with both that on land and in water space. Yeah, surprisingly like really fun. Like, it's not really, again, my type of genre, but I played this and was immediately like, I could see this really taking off if just like kind of enough eyes get on it. Like, it was just a really good time.
Okay, so
Also,
go get your eyes all over it.
Whisker Squadron Survivor. One of
Okay.
my
Ooh,
favorite games
yeah,
of the
Whisker
year.
Squadron's good.
If you like Star Fox, it's Star Fox but Vampire Survivors, and it is
Mhm.
a match made in heaven. It is so goddamn good. Another mini indie showcase alumni. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Also, Mike is holding
Indie
a
fans.
pen that has Sonic's head on it.
Sonic on it.
So
It seems like he really wants to emphasize. It's more like Sonic is speaking.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I'm very close to buying tickets. Just a round trip flight to Boston because motherfucking Crush 40 is gonna be at the Sonic Symphony. Oh my god,
Do it.
TBD. I'm very poor. I can't do it.
Jumping to our next topic, I don't have a terrible lot to say about this, but it is an important thing that is really good for the industry. I'm glad to hear it. SAG-AFTRA has approved the video game strike authorization vote. Yay!
Woot.
So that, if you've seen this kind of floating around, that doesn't mean that they're currently on strike. Just means that as they go into the next weeks of negotiation for contracts and things like that, they could, if needed, use a strike to get better conditions for all of the members. And we love to see it. Hopefully that, they just get what they deserve without having to strike. But it's, capitalism. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is great to see that we're getting this in the space, and in general, like all aspects of what it takes to make a video game or what it takes to exist in the game industry, be it coverage or whatever, could benefit from better working conditions and better pay. And that's true in a lot of industries. I think on the negative side, a lot of the less supportive discourse does tend to be from the, oh well, there's like, again, the kind of whataboutism of everything else going on. But I think a lot of people, and certainly I think all of us here, are firmly in the belief that like what a rising tide helps all. I forgot the name for the thing,
Raises
right?
all
Yeah.
boats.
Yes, it raises all boats, right? It's like we want good stuff for everybody. And like, while this might have short term ramifications for like delays and things, like short term pain, long term gain, like it is so good to be able to create spaces for people to do the work that they love and that they're skilled at doing and get compensated appropriately and get to stay in the industry too. I think, unfortunately, games aside, in a lot of industries, people love what they do, but they have to leave for whatever reason. And I would love like a space where people can really foster a true career in video game voice acting and not feel like this is a small side hustle thing because I can't make it the all. Like, imagine how much better the artistry will get if there is security and like good
Mhm.
things coming from this. Like, it shouldn't have to be that you have to do the starving artist thing, right? I think a lot of times
Mm.
people end up in those situations because they have such a passion, and I love to see workers organizing and really standing up for themselves and unifying. I think there's something really inspiring about that, and I hope that reverberates throughout not just all of the games industry but also society. So I'm glad to see a lot of good stuff happening in terms of higher ups having to bend to the will of the people, especially when the will is just like decent pay, decent working
Yeah.
conditions. These really aren't big asks that are being asked for, but unfortunately, there are people that will try really, really hard to deny what should be the bare minimum. So, yeah,
Mhm.
hopefully that works out for them and that we can, support in whatever way they want us to support, keeping our eyes and ears open to what can we do to help them out in their efforts.
Mhm. Yeah, I think this is just really exciting to see, especially on the heels of for folks who don't know, the Writers Guild of America, they've been on strike, and they've reached a tentative agreement, and so it hasn't been like so officially ratified, but they are on the way to ending a strike that's been about 5 months, I think, nearly 5 months.
Something like that.
And so seeing that that go well just I think reinforces how like there is power in people coming together and like taking a stand against these practices and like for fair wages and decent just treatment in an industry. So it is really, really exciting. I think just to get like specific, the strike, if it ends up happening, is the negotiations are happening specifically with Activision Productions, Blindlight LLC, Disney Character Voices, EA Productions, Formosa, Insomniac, Epic Games, Take-Two, VoiceWork Productions, and WB Games. So those are like the 10 big like companies that are being named specifically within this authorization.
All those little indie darlings.
Yeah, I think it could be. I mean, I think it's one of those elements where, especially when like the Barbie movie was coming out and there were a lot of influencers trying to figure out like, what are we going to do if we're supposed to be putting commentary on film and we can't really talk about this if we're not wanting to cross the picket line. It's one of those things that if this strike does happen, we'll probably see those conversations come up with creators as they have to negotiate whether or not they are comfortable covering games that cross the picket line. And if they're not, what do they cover? And I mean, for indies, that may be an opportunity for some interesting visibility as well.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if this gets going, sooner rather than later. With the
Yeah.
we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but with all the mass wave of AAA releases we're about to get into.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting.
100%. And Janet, I just want to take a second and be like, I'm so glad you're on this podcast with us because that was
Oh,
the
thanks. That's
best,
very sweet.
like, way to have said that. The most articulate, the most like. That's exactly what I would have said if I was smart enough to say it. Sort of speech.
Oh, you're too humble. Thank you, though. You're a great
Jenny,
host.
Jenny, you should podcast sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jenny.
I've thought
You
about
should-
it. I
you
thought about
got- you got a
If
future in this
only.
biz.
Yeah. Well, we're all trying.
I'll try.
Speaking of future in this biz, future class voting is still going. Go vote for Janet. Woo!
Oh, thanks.
Hey.
You're like, this is too much. I'm getting embarrassed. Let's continue on.
Let's move on. Or we can keep complimenting Janet. Put a comment down below saying something nice about Janet. Breaking news. Bump it up, dum. Fall just started.
The tonal shifts of this.
This is a
show
wild episode.
Are like
You know,
sweating. It's like
I'm not-
the head.
I'm not totally back from Like, I'm not totally level-headed, so I'm still a little in my fever dream.
This is definitely
So
a
it's fun.
sandwiched episode for sure, where it's like, okay, we got like the unity and the sag after bread, and then in
Yeah.
between, it's shmups and fall.
Yeah, it's like last week was so, like, heavy and dark. I just wanna be, like, up
No,
and
no,
and
I'm
You're
and
feeling it.
giving
welcome.
people some energy.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, since it is the beginning of fall, I wanted to talk about some of your go-to indie experiences for this season. I think I threw out some easy answers that I didn't want anybody to, like, use essentially because they're too easy. But Night in the Woods and Stardew Valley are always, like, on this list because they're fantastic and they are 100%. Oh, someone else put
Yeah, that was
was
me.
was
Because I'm
that
like,
Janet?
yes, because I also had a list of like a little too obvious, like Firewatch, because it's like you're in the what,
It's
and these
orange.
are exactly it's orange, exactly. No, 100%.
It's
Like
true.
fire's red, like that's a
Yeah.
fall color. It's like the classics, but I'm guessing again, people listening to this show, you probably like indie games and you probably played Firewatch or Gone Home or Oxenfree. So it's like they're a little too
There's another
obvious,
one,
but
yep.
if you haven't, I mean, frankly though, I love indies and I hadn't played Firewatch until like 1 or 2 years ago, and I like absolutely adored my time. So definitely those are
Dude,
all games that you should get to if you haven't yet.
Yeah,
But
100%.
real quick, I feel like way too many people hate on Firewatch, especially when it first came out. Like, people were shitting on the game and saying it was like mediocre and the ending sucked or whatever. That ending fucking destroyed me. I adore that game.
can we need some spoiler casts in here? Let's add to the
Yeah,
doc
I
next
would
to the
love to
goats
dive
because
into.
the drama of
Everybody play.
Firewatch, like, ooh, I was, and I do have some beefs also with the ending in some senses, but generally, like, I just think the conclusion was not as exciting as like the leading action for
And
me, kind of
I think
thing.
that's why
I
I
think
loved it
that's
so
why I
much.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, okay, yeah. So the
Because
point
it's
is,
different.
Firewatch is still hot in the streets, y'all. It's burning
Yeah.
through
Fire.
everything.
Yeah.
It's fire.
Yeah. No, it is fine. Here's a question for y'all, and we don't really have to get into it because it's like too much. But Firewatch versus Gone Home, where do y'all land? Because that's why I ended up playing it because I wanted to be able to compare the two. We did like a big indie bracket for like PS I Love You, a year ago or something. Like, where do y'all land
Okay,
on
so
that?
here's my absolutely shameful confession.
Oh my
I have not
god!
played Gone Home yet.
You know what? I think we have to take out these easy answers then because these aren't.
Yeah,
No,
they're
I mean,
apparently not
Gone
so
Home
easy.
Gone Home
Yeah.
is the easy answer. I understand that even not having played it. I understand more than I probably should about the game before going
Okay.
into it. But like it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm gonna do it, but then like every game drops every day that I have to play. So I'm gonna have to go into that.
No, Gone Home is probably better than a lot of those games dropping, frankly. Like it's just, and that's not
Probably.
a shade
It's
to
quick.
other titles. It's just it's so great. I recommend I know it's like all about the Steam Deck Live right now, but the Switch version's really fun because, or maybe this is also on Steam, but there's a version that also has developer commentary, like as a
Mm.
playthrough. I think maybe that's all of them. I don't know. And the Switch one has like Nintendo games in it, like the cartridges or whatever, so that's cute. But play through it and then play through it again with the developer commentary because it's like one of my favorite gaming experiences was playing that game with the commentary on and you're going through the rooms and they're like, when I made this washing machine, this is what I want. And I'm like, I'm eating it up. I'm like, this is so cool. Like I geeked out about that. So that's also a fun thing to check out.
Yeah, I think like Gone Home going in like not knowing anything about that game, not watching any trailers, not understanding, like not hearing anything about that game, like it really messes you up because it's like internally you think it's one thing, but then it's not. And
Mhm.
the ending is very misleading into making you think you're going to discover something, but it doesn't happen. And I remember my heart like pounding out of my chest, thinking I was going to see something quite gnarly. But yeah, it's pretty special. You should play Gone Home. It's good.
Yeah.
Also,
Go
full
check it out.
disclosure, Steve Gaynor, not a great man. There's that also.
Yeah,
Let's just put that
100%.
out there.
Let's jump into our own personal fall games, and I'm just gonna rattle mine off very quickly. Of course, Dredge, great game, just came out. Everyone needs to check it out. Untitled Goose
You could
Game.
customize your boats now.
Yeah, you can paint them
Mhm.
up, paint them fall
Yeah,
colors.
and put pirate
Um,
flags on it. Nope.
Can you really?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, sweet.
it's fun. Go check it out. Untitled Goose Game, just nice and cozy, and geese for some reason make me think fall. Darkest Dungeon, probably 2 because it came out most recently. It gives me spooky vibes. Inscription is so fantastic. Everyone needs to check it out. Fall of Porcupine, and Witchwood. Yeah, there we go. We got a little prop for all you audio people out there. You're missing out. Go check out the video.
Subscribe
Um,
on the Indie Informer.
and I want to shout out Witchwood in particular because I feel like it didn't get enough love. It only came out, I think, a couple years ago. And it is basically kind of a storybook. It's got a beautiful hand-drawn aesthetic. It's a point and click, but like a modernized version of it. So it's not like finicky in the way that a lot of point and clicks are. Thanks, Mike. Just
What? Continue.
ruining my Witchwood monologue.
I feel so guilty as I
Which
just
would-
deleted this off my PlayStation, having never played it. I was clearing up space.
Yeah,
And I know it's like it's probably like 8
understand. It's like-
megabytes too. I'm so sorry. Like,
It's
I'll
so
get back
good.
to it.
It's like a little storybook, but you're playing basically as the witch. And everything is beautiful and it's clever and it's fun and people should go check it out.
We're in a good era for witches. Like the witch trend
Yeah.
is running heavily. Witch
It's
and
going good.
like sorcery adjacent content is running rampant.
Dude, witches, frogs, super in right now.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
What is it
frogs-
that
frogs is
happened
big.
in all of our childhoods that's what we ran with?
Who knows?
Never mind.
Mike was really going to say something just then.
Is it the
Jenny,
goat?
what are you
I was
doing
gonna
for
say,
fall?
I'm like, do you have another goat story?
Yeah.
I do.
Oh no. Okay, Mike. Now that we know there's a goat story, we have to.
A little young Mike at the Westchester County Fair. He won a frog at the fair.
Like a live one?
Yeah, like a live one, like a little boy, little lad, little green
Mhm.
boy.
Little green lad.
A few days later, he wasn't in his tank anymore. So I was like, "Oh no, where's my little boy?" Dumb little Mike forgot about it like 2 days later. I didn't know this frog existed. Turns out, like a couple years later, when I was rearranging my room, found a little dried frog under the dresser.
Oh, Mike.
Oh my gosh.
Terrible.
Did you give him a proper burial? Did you finally put him to
You
rest?
definitely just threw him into the garbage.
Yeah, he
Definitely.
definitely was like, oh.
Funeral or-
So to answer your question, why are frogs hot right now? Trauma.
That's probably the truth about a lot of things. But Jenny,
Another winning segue. I love
Tell me about
it.
your trauma.
I'm gonna keep it up as long as I
I
can.
mean, this
Yeah,
first
we
game
love
was
it.
kind of like that, actually.
I
we
was
got him
gonna
here.
say, actually, with maybe like 1 or 2 exceptions, most of my games are quite just like emotional and sad. I feel like for me, fall, I personally love the coziness of fall, but what I really love is games that have that like melancholy, because I feel like fall is very like melancholy and bittersweet. So
Yeah.
a lot of mine are very, melancholy. The first is What Remains of Edith Finch. I think
Yes.
one of the most outstanding and also one of the most heartbreaking games. Like
Yes.
major, just read some of the content warnings before you go in, because there's like bad, like there's hard stuff that happens in that game. But if it's your game, it's going to be very, very powerful for you. Kentucky Route Zero is probably one of the greatest narrative masterpieces, I think, in games. The the development spans like almost a decade. And it has this like look into the US culture, especially around like Appalachia, in ways that I don't think I've ever seen another game do. It's absolutely beautiful. It's also got that kind of fantasy realism, weird vibe
Yeah.
to it, which I love.
Great music also.
Oh yeah, the music's outstanding. It's it's so good.
Funny enough, it just came to PS5 and Xbox Series X. So go play it.
Well, there we go.
play
Everyone
it.
should definitely go play it. I'll skip the next one because it's happy, and I'll save it for last. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons.
No one wants to hear about that joy.
Yeah, no one wants to hear the happy stuff yet. Brother: A Tale of Two Sons, another like very sad, melancholy game. Some of the most like has some of the best foreshadowing I've seen in a game, where you like it just feels like a fairy tale as you play, and a really neat sort of mechanical gimmick makes it sound a bit more trite, but a unique mechanical setup where you play 2 different characters with one controller. So you're controlling both of the Boulder brothers with one side of the controller, which I found really entertaining and cool, on top of a really solid story. Strange Horticulture, which isn't that sad, but it has murder and the occult in it. Have an assortment of plants that you arrange. You solve riddles. You get to acquire new plants, and you investigate some strange happenings in the town. I love this because you're running a shop, and so you're actually seeing everything from the perspective behind your shop sill. So you're not actually out doing the action. You're hearing everything from the people who come visit, and I think that's a really fun way to like build a world and build a story. That limitation is just really cool.
I also
And
think
then,
really quick with strange
yeah.
horticulture, because that was also on my list, and then I was like, God, Jenny took this one too. I was like, I was the last one writing it down. I was like, damn. But I also love that while you are like from your shop, there is like an aspect of almost like D&D board gameness to it, where you're like
Yeah.
traveling to get, quote unquote, traveling, like fake traveling to get the ingredients, and there's sort of like almost like a magical map that appears that kind of says like,
Mhm.
here's what happened, like, and then we're to the road diverges, which way do you go when you travel down this one, like this, it has this like kind of that almost adds to, I think, the spooky vibrant lore of it kind of
Mhm.
being this journey that you like go on in a very like gamified way within the game itself. So I think that's also very fun.
Yeah, it's such a good game. I feel like that's another one where I think within the niche of people who like cozy games,
Yeah.
it's pretty well known, but it's not well known outside of that. And I wish more people knew about it because it's so good. Very, very deep cut, but Bastion, I feel like I play at least once a year, and it's a very much a fall game for me. I think because everything's kind of falling apart in Bastion, and I think about like the falling leaves and how fall is just kind of inherently, again, things are
Decay.
decaying. I sound so like, where is my like side swipe bangs, and like I should dye my hair black.
Little
But
flashlight.
Bastion's incredible, and if you haven't played it, it's one of those games that I feel like has aged pretty decently with its mechanics. I feel like also some of the themes about change and the nature of change are really interesting. Playing it before the last election was something I like, honestly, I got so much out of that game. It was incredible. And then Scarlet Hollow, which is a visual novel, episodic, another incredible narrative experience. It's also a little bit more on the like spooky side. There's a little bit of horror, or it is a horror game, I would say. And the developers are actually the ones who are also at the same time developing Slay the Princess, which is my
Oh,
most
okay.
anticipated game for this fall. I'm so excited for it.
So excited.
It's gonna be so good. Like, just I can't. We need to slay the princess spoiler cast. Honestly, I just
Yes,
want to have an
please.
excuse to dive deep with people about it. And then the last one, which is my one like truly happy pick, is a short hike. It's
So
an
good.
hour of your time.
And Mike, you have like
Probably.
every game back there.
God,
I'm
I
a
know
big
Mike
gamer.
is ready.
I'm ready.
I mean, it's also impressive too because they're all in hand reach range.
I know.
Yeah, I got a short hike, but I also have Shadow the Hedgehog for the PS2.
It's actually just
I have
like
everything.
random game cases
They're
with, like, a
basically
green
the same
screen,
game.
and he just edits it in.
I also
Yeah.
have the holiday card from Super Rare Games.
Oh
Very
my
important.
gosh. It's amazing. But yeah, so
Anyway.
those are mine. Short hike. I think out of all the indies, a short hike is maybe probably one of the top indies in my opinion. Just like it does so many things so right. So that's just like a must play in general. Any
Right.
season.
It's so
Yeah.
interesting. I can remember a few years ago, was it a short hike? I think it was a short hike where the developer was at GDC talking about how the game didn't actually do very well commercially.
Yeah, which
It's
is
like,
bonkers.
yeah, I was like, how? This game is amazing.
It's never too late. Everyone, go sell out a short hike
We
right
have
now.
to,
Go
yeah,
sell it
this
out.
is my new mission.
Yeah, I
Make
think,
it afraid of Unity.
I think Alex Van Aken of Game Informer fame.
Yes.
He just
Lovely
tweeted
human
out
being.
something like at most it had like 200 concurrent players on Steam, which is like,
Yeah.
no, come on,
Y'all need to
Play
get
a
on
short
this.
hike.
No, yeah, that
Yo.
is surprising because it's in my mind, maybe it's just like our circles. It's like, oh, this was like if you only played like 5 indies of that year, like a short hike was
Like,
one of them.
that's
And
the
admittedly,
one.
I think I was late to a short hike, so I guess like I'm part of the problem. But yeah, it's so fantastic. It's like in a funny way, like I think it might be like the best Zelda game that isn't Zelda, even though it doesn't have combat.
Mhm.
Like it's
I
just
agree.
pure exploration, and like it is a masterclass of, you don't need a giant space to make a really like in-depth exploration game. Like there's so
Yeah.
much to uncover in such a small area, and it's just so it's so beautiful, and it is very fall like because I think it takes place like in fall, and you're running through the forest and you're climbing, and it's so sweet. Like I love that game.
Yeah, I think I played through it like 3 times, and each playthrough I found something new I didn't find the first time.
Yeah.
There's so much depth in that game, like you said, Janet. It's kind of bonkers because like you can 100% that game in like 3-4 hours if
Yeah.
you really want to. Same with like
Mhm.
I'll add this also. Little Gator Game is
I was
another
gonna
great
Oh
game,
my
mention that game.
gosh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so good.
which like does a short hike very well as well. Like
Yeah.
again, like not an overwhelming open world, but just so much depth and character and yeah, it's
Yeah, short
2
hike's
games
little
are
cousin.
fantastic. Yeah,
Mhm.
I would
I
also
will
take a
say
bullet for Claire.
oh my gosh, yes. I had a friend though, because I was like hyping this game up. I'm like, this game, honestly, by the end, it changed me. There was such an emotional impact by the end.
Yes, no, for
And
real.
my friend, he goes and he's like, all right, I'm ready. He gets it. He jumps into play and he texts me like maybe 25, 30 minutes later. And he's like, I finished it. That's it. And I was like, how did you play this game? And how did you finish? He like
Did you
inadvertently
find the
sped run.
shovel and
I
start digging for
know.
coins?
I'm
Because
sorry,
you didn't
did
really
you
play it.
genuinely?
I'm like, did
Yeah.
you play the game? It was so wild. So that was like a really funny moment because it's one of those games where you could, depending on your play style, potentially finish it very, very quickly and not
Yeah.
get any of it. So I thought that was really funny.
No, that is funny.
Man, that just made me. I want to shout out Toem really fast because that's
Yes.
I was
another one
thinking
of
of
those
Toem
games,
too.
Mm.
Yeah.
and it's also pretty folly, even though it's not really folly. But again,
It kind of
always
has
great.
like there's like a quaintness and like a slow
A
pace that
snuggly.
feels fall
Yeah,
to
Mhm.
Toem. And I will say, as someone that like started Toem and like took forever to finish it, I just like kept not going back. Once I finished it, I was like, I'm so glad I finished this game because I'm not gonna spoil like where it goes, but the end of Toem is like one of the most like it's still the same art style, so like it is within the art style, but it is one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a game.
Yeah.
Like it's up
Yeah.
there with like when you see like the edge of the earth in Ragnarok or something, the edge of the universe or something. It's like up there with that to me. Obviously the fidelity is different, but
yeah,
it's so beautiful. And I was like, wow, like I really felt like I did, like I did that, right? Like the journey, the whole like go to see, see this spectacle,
yeah.
and you really get to see it in the game, and it's so incredibly lovely. So if you're like me and you're like, yeah, this was cool, but like like just finish it. I promise you're gonna be like, I'm so glad I saw it through.
100%.
I need to go back and do the DLC on PS5. My save borked, so I can't like
Yeah,
actually get
Mm.
into the game anymore.
that's
Like,
a
and I'm
shame.
like midway through the DLC. It's so good, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to play through it again.
It's
That's
fun.
fair.
At least, but yeah.
Mike, what are your fall games?
Let's start more tame, and then we'll go more chaotic.
Mm.
Grapple Dog is a lovely love letter to the GBA
Mm.
kind of platformers. You play as a little orange dog and you're grappling around. It's sort of summery, but I would say like I think I
He's
just kind
orange,
of
so.
equate. Yeah, he's orange, so that's why I kind of equate the GBA to fall for some reason. I think that's like when I got my
Mm.
GBA back in the day, and just it reminds me of just like sitting out in the backyard like on a cool fall night and just platforming around Mario 3, like wherever that re-release was. So it very much reminds me of that.
Yeah. Ooh, pink.
I got stuff too, Mike.
Ooh,
All
look
right?
Yeah, Mike.
Suck it. You're the only one with an IKEA Calyx shelf behind you, you bastard.
I got
like
3 of
looking
them.
for anything I have
No, I
around
have
me.
so many
so-
IKEA Calyx shelves.
Dude,
Oh my
the
God.
goats of the shelves. Let's be real.
No, and then like we, sorry to interrupt your games, but like
No,
we
please.
moved like a few months ago, and like my brother helped us, like me and my boyfriend, move into our new place, and he's like, man, there's so many of these IKEA Calyx shelves to move, and he's like, I'm so tired of seeing these. And after we got all settled in, my boyfriend's like, Edwin, I got some bad news for you. I just ordered another one. It's the perfect furniture for when you don't
It's
want to
great.
actually buy real furniture, but you need
It's
a
Mhm.
square
also
to
the
put your trinkets in.
dude. It's also the
Yep.
only furniture good enough for vinyl
Yes,
and
That's
could
yeah.
maintain the
yeah.
weight.
it
Yep.
does it all.
Also,
Top
there's
fall
not a
furniture, the Calyx
top fall
shelf.
furniture.
Yeah.
There's a listen to this fucking shit. There's a game that came out last week called Calyx, and it's about furniture building. It's like a co-op furniture builder. I have to play it
Hell yeah.
because of Calyx.
Okay, so if Grapple Dog is
Anyways.
your least chaotic, I
Yes.
am interested to see where this goes.
I guess Coffee Talk's not that chaotic. Coffee Talk is another like cozy game, similar to Strange Horticulture, where like you are a barista in a coffee shop and you're just listening to people's stories, and it's just such a good time. Especially, I bet on a day like Jenny is experiencing right now, just a nice cozy rainy day,
Mhm.
Yeah.
just sipping on some tea, making a little horrible milk art that I'm
Yeah.
never good at.
Really
It's a
quick,
great
did you
time.
play Coffee Talk 2? And like, do you recommend just doing them in order, or like, can anyone speak to that? Because I've been
Do 'em in
interested in
order.
this for forever, and I never like got to either. So I'm like, should I start with the first and then do the second, or
Definitely
Yeah,
start with the
start with the
first.
first.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of the characters carry over, and
Mm.
some of the narrative
Right.
okay, good to know.
beats
Like, you
carry
don't
over.
necessarily need to. It's not like
Right,
you're gonna be
right.
lost.
Yeah, it'll catch you up, but it's more rewarding for sure.
Okay.
Mhm.
Birth, which we talked about
Ooh,
in a previous episode,
So
really great
good.
narrative adventure where it's a very like Tim Burton-esque kind of art style. You play as you play as yourself, but as like a skeleton version of yourself, and you are going around town collecting bones to create a best friend. It's very spoopy, but cozy spoopy. Once Upon a Jester is really damn good. It's another. A lot of these are just narrative adventure games, which I'm realizing now, where you play as a young jester with his best friend Sock, who's a
He
sock
was a
puppet
sock
man.
puppet. It's so good
Uh,
because his name's not Sock, it's Sock.
Sock. Uh, you are playing as a thief trying to scam your way into like this elegant castle to steal this diamond, and the whole gameplay mechanic is putting on stage plays to win a competition and be invited to the royal palace for a grand performance. Similar to my GBA thing, I very much equate like stage plays and Broadway, and me going to Broadway as a kid to the fall season, like Columbus Day weekend, like or Indigenous People Day weekends, and so on and so forth. Going to see like Wicked, Lion King, all that bullshit. I'm a big musical person. That's a fun fact about Mike. Okay, let's get chaotic. Dusk is another great
That's a good
retro
one.
FPS by New Blood. You are going around just shotgunning down cult leaders and weird monsters and stuff. It is great. New Blood are just like everything New Blood puts out is fantastic. Similar to Chop Goblins, another retro FPS where you shoot down these little goblin lads and they make weird noises like and yeah, it's a weird time. It's really good. Faith the Unholy Trinity, another
No,
New Blood joint.
you can't
It's
make me
so
play
good.
this.
It's so good. It
No.
is
It's so
a
good.
I guess like technically 1-bit horror narrative
Mhm.
adventure, puzzle narrative adventure. You're going around trying to like it's very much based on the satanic panic, that's what it is. And you're going around completing these little side adventures about like demonism and the occult, and like just like seeing and experiencing some of the most fucked up things that the human mind can conjure. The most fascinating
sounds
thing about
lovely.
Faith,
Yeah,
the
he
most,
says it with such joy.
it is
Like,
so
just
it's
curl up
genuinely
and look at the most horrific things that the human mind can
it's
conjure.
genuinely one of my favorite games of all time. What to kind of like counteract the 1-bit low poly nature of it, all of the major cutscenes are rotoscoped, and if you don't know what rotoscoping is, it is literally filming a scene and tracing frame by frame to give a really authentic and human animation style to it. So there is rotoscoped scenes of just demons like tearing their mouths open and like ripping chests apart, and it's great. It's a good cozy time.
Welcome
It's
to fall,
really
everyone.
fun.
It's so
I'm not a
good.
horror game person. Like, I'm really picky with my horror games. I loved playing and it's actually a trinity, just for like, it's not
Yeah,
the
yeah.
unholy trinity. There's actually like 3 games.
There are 3 short games.
Yeah.
So
It's very,
good.
very good.
If I were to pick one person on this cast that would back Mike up on this game, it was not going to be Jenny.
It's a wild episode.
I feel like no.
Uh,
See, I'm the opposite. I like as soon as Jenny's like yes, I'm like yeah. Like Jenny, it's the sweetest game ever, and then like the most horrific thing ever.
Yeah.
Like right afterwards, like that's like the dichotomy of Jenny, which I really
Yeah.
appreciate. So
And then the final one, which actually like it genuinely means like the world to me, is Teenage Blob. Folks who've listened to IndieCast, I've said this many a times, but Teenage Blob is one of the most authentic representations of what it's like to go to a concert. That's from waking up early in the morning, grinding your way to make a few bucks so you could afford like some sick shoes so you could like show off to the crowd and buy some merch, and then the eternal bliss that is actually like getting into the show. This came out during COVID. And I'm gonna get a little real for a second. It came out during COVID, around a time where obviously concerts and live events were not happening. Something I rely on heavily for my own mental well-being is going to a concert and just like kind of experiencing that release and energy of experiencing just pure emotion with a group of people, a group of strangers that are all in there for the same reason. And during lockdown, was not in a good place because of that. Teenage Blob came out and gave me that kind of release that I was like so like desperate for, and I cannot be more grateful enough to the developers over there at Team Laserbeam. So a lot of that, why I think it's a fall game, I very much equate like going to club shows like to the fall season, like going down to the Village and hitting up Irving Plaza or Webster Hall, a little bit more downtown to like Terminal 5, just like scrounging around the city, either going to shows or playing shows. And then especially after playing a show, like just hanging out in the Village and going down to St. Mark's and going to the hookah shops and going to the tattoo shops until like fucking 5 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, so that's it's a good game. It's a good game. It's also a playable EP. So like the whole game, like it's all mini games that are based on 5 original songs by the Philly band The Super Weeks. So you essentially play a mini game to the soundtrack of a pop punk song. It's
That's
brilliant.
cool.
It'll take you a half hour to play through just because that the EP is a half hour long. Yeah, I cannot recommend it enough to everybody. It's really good.
Go
That's
check it out for a
awesome.
good fall.
Yeah.
Janet, bring us home.
Yeah, I got Life is Strange True Colors, which I tend to sing the True Color song when I read the title. But
Yeah.
it's a Life is Strange game. Life is Strange is interesting because it's exchanged hands like a bit and things. So um I approached this game honestly with not like super high hopes because I'm like, I don't know if I like the kind of shtick is you have like the power of empathy and you can like read people's emotions, but I'm like, is that really a power? Like, I wasn't sure if the supernatural aspect of that power would carry through, but I think they did some really lovely stuff with it. It was frankly one of my favorite games of that year. It was like in my top 5 easily in a year that was full of a lot of fantastic titles. And it has, plenty of fall, small town coziness to it. It is again an example of not a lot of general real estate to explore, but you get the most out of what you're going into. So you have like the bar and like the jukebox and the record shop, and you have there's an amazing moment where you do a LARP, which I thought was going to
Yeah.
be really just dorky and goofy, but it ended up being like the greatest thing ever, which people at LARP will probably say that that's what LARPing is, but they had a lot of creativity with what they did. And my absolute favorite thing about this game, and why I kind of encourage anyone that's even remotely open-minded to like a story-driven decision game to check it out, is I think they very masterfully made your choices matter in a way that you weren't necessarily expecting. So again, without spoiling it, when you get to the end, it's suddenly like, oh my God, everything that came before is kind of recontextualized. And if I knew what I knew now, maybe I would go back and do some things differently. And you like really see your actions play out in a way that's so like concrete and immediate and also like nonstop. It's like back to back to back. You're in this big moment of the game where you're like, wow, it really was leading all up to this. And I had no way of knowing that. And I think that's the best way to integrate decision based gameplay, where it feels like in the moment, it's so integrated with just how you want to play and what you think at the time. But then later it has consequences that you never could have predicted or see coming.
Right.
And I think that's so masterfully done in True Colors. So
Yeah.
shout out to
I
that.
think I played this when it first came out, and I don't remember exactly why, but my partner was on a business trip, and it was like a 2-month business trip. It was really long, and I was like in the middle of that and really missing him, and just really like playing this game just devastated me. I was so emotionally like hurt in the middle of this game. So like getting kind of resolution at the end was also sort of resolution for me. So like this game always means like a ton to me when I see it come up, and I'm just like, yeah, if this is a great choice, Janet.
Yeah, it's such a special title. And a really fun like trophy hunt too if you want to go completionist because they have like the selecting stuff, so it's really easy to go back and kind of like dig into it to its entirety. Such a fantastic title. Potion craft again, kind of potion craft. I think is like the cousin of strange horticulture in my mind. It's
Mhm.
like okay, those who like this will like the other. I've been slowly chipping away at this for a couple months, just picking it up from time to time. It's on Game Pass. I'm playing on Steam Deck on via Steam, obviously, and it is again similar thing. You're like selling potions, and you're slowly working on fixing the machine in the basement to make more potions. But the fun twist, or like one of the fun twists, is that to discover more recipes, you're kind of creating potions and then using the creation of that potion to move like a potion vial on the map around. And as you like clear the fog on that map, you then can uncover like new recipes. So part of the game, the gamification aspect, people always ask like, well, what's the game? If it's like story, like what's the gameplay mechanic? It's like that's always so annoying to me because I'm like, these games have a lot of mechanics, and it's actually really interesting to look at the different styles. And this style is very experimental, like immersive potion crafting that leads
Mhm.
to gaining new recipes, and you're like designing the book as you go and trying to think of what's the most efficient way for me to make this potion. And there's like so many different ways to go about playing. Like I guarantee you, like my file looks different than like my friend's file who's playing, and like our route to the different potions is different. And then there's a lot of freedom too on like how you service like a customer, because they'll say like, I need something to like blow something up, and you can give them like something with explosion, but maybe they say like, I'll pay you more if you use this ingredient. So you're kind of like you're shopping, and it ends up being this very like immersive shopkeep potion experimenting moment that I think is so cool and such a unique way to go about it. And yeah, I just kind of also, much like Jenny, put like the potion witchy occult stuff in that fall vein. There's like a lot of browns in the game, and I'm like, brown's a fall color, you know. So it's potion craft. Let's see. I think this is Lev Oma. I always struggle saying this because it's Dutch. This is a game that I played on itch.io. I don't know if it's available elsewhere. It's like $3. It's super sweet. I played it in one of the mini bundles I got, but it is like one of the coolest games that I'm like always thinking of. It is incredibly simplistic. Like you are just walking, but like it's done so like the art is so beautiful. It takes place in fall. You have again the lush oranges and the yellows, and you're there with your grandma. And literally it's just a game about like this is the pitch of the game on the page. It says, my grandmother is probably the most important person ever to me, as she provided me with the stability and care a child needs growing up. We all have or have had people helping us become a responsible and caring person. And this short narrative game is an ode to these people. And I just think that description alone like makes me tear up. Like I think
Mhm.
there's such a beautiful, heartwarming simplicity and realness in this game where you really are just a little kid. You're like walking next to your grandma, and you can like pick up a rock and stuff or like a twig, and like you and grandma are just talking, and that's it. Like that's the game. You just walk through so for me, like if we think mechanic or whatever, like the big thing here that makes it special is the art style. I think just how earnest what they created is, in the way that you can really just kind of project your own feelings onto it. Like I think that's the special sauce on this. Also, grandma's shaped like a little bean. I think that's really cute. Like I mean, maybe
Grandma
she has
Bean.
arms and they're in her pocket, but she's like dead ass, she's like a bean potato shape. It's like, and she has like a little red scarf, and like she's wearing like an outfit that's like she's shaded all as one color. Like she's like just like a little old lady bean person, and like that's so cute. And it's like, oh, like I just think it's so beautiful for them to make something like this where it's like I kind of love your grandma too now, like having played this game, and there's something very like heartwarming and cozy about that. So that's a special game to me a lot.
The devs follow-up game, How to Say Goodbye, is really good. Came out
Oh
last
my
year.
god, I'm not the
Yeah.
title alone. I'm not
It's
ready.
Oh,
so
I know.
good.
It's so
Oh my
good.
god, yes. I gotta check that out. I didn't dig into their, repertoire, but I definitely will now. Shifting gears, like, yeah, you're just delivering mail, and it's just a good
Yeah.
time. If you are like me and you're a sucker for like the old school GTA ambulance missions, but you would want less stress,
I couldn't think of
strap
a
in.
less likely comparison.
It's spot
Yeah,
on.
like if that
Oh, I
was
love
you,
it.
if you're driving that taxi and you're
Mhm.
thinking that's
Mhm.
look towards lake. It also is just like a really fun kind of almost like in terms of narrative, like it's not super heavy. It's like a little popcorny, but that's kind of nice. Like I like that about it. I like driving around the mail truck. I like getting to know the town people. You have romance options, like you have, of all forms. So there's like, a male and a female romance option. There's a fake Blockbuster in town. So I always talk about this game and my Blockbuster girlfriend that I have in this game. And I'm like, oh yeah, Lake, the game with Blockbuster girlfriend. That's a good fall time. Like there's
Yeah.
like a pie at the shop at one point. It's fall, baby. Last two I have is Far From Noise. This is also like a very fall toned game with like the purples and the pinks. It's kind of like a sunsetty feeling, and I think fall is that like cozy, dark transitional season. So that's kind of why I associate it with Far From Noise, and also that like part of the game. The game is kind of just like in a way, like a deer talking to you. So this game is like a trippy conversation. Like basically you're on the car's on the edge of the cliff. It's kind of a near death experience, and you're sort of having this conversation, but also in a way you're sort of working through things or thinking aloud. And this is like a game that very much is about, do you want to read and interact with a deep, intriguing conversation about life and death? And like, do you want to have like a little introspective moment with some really good dialogue? Like that's Far From Noise. And then ending with the spooky, we have Mothman 1966. This is like a very pulpy, comic booky, like funky visual novel. The art style is like super just like lovely. It's like this harsh blue and green, very like old school computer game energy radiating off of this. But yeah, it is basically just looking at like mid 20th century Pulp Fiction. It's like that 80s computer graphic style, and you're kind of just like in this like small town, and then like crazy stuff ends up happening. I mean, it's called Mothman 1966, so like I don't know, is it a spoiler to be like surreal supernatural things happen? Not really, but that's kind of where it goes. It's that classic group of teens or young people. Lots of fun little mini games in this. Not like an absolute like perfect game. Like I definitely have like notes on it, but I really enjoyed my time with it a lot. They have a follow up called
Varney Lake.
Varney Lake.
Varney
I
Lake
haven't
and-
gotten to Varney Lake yet. It's been on my list for a long time. And this game's also available everywhere. Like I played it on PlayStation. Am I bitter about this weird like RNG trophy list thing they have? Yes, I still am. But that's also a testament to how much I
That's
love
not
the
bad.
game. Like it's you know what I'm talking about, right? It's like you're like playing like a card. What game is it that they make you play and you got to win and you can't like lose it
it's
all?
like isn't it like you have to guess like higher or lower? Something like
Yeah,
that.
it's basically like a higher or lower, but you like have to have like a flawless run. And I was like playing that for like a hot 15 minutes before I gave up. But I do think the fact that I even was looking at like, oh, let me try to platinum this. Like I kind of only do that for games that I like. Like I don't have like my cheap weirdo platinums that like Greg does, where he like plays like Who's Who. It's like a 2-minute game for like $2. Like I don't hunt in that way. So like the fact that I was pursuing even like a completionist run of this, I think speaks to the ways it felt really cool and special to me. So if you like visual novels and spooky stuff, I think Mothman 1966 is a fun time, and I'm excited to check out Varney Lake. Hopefully I'll report back on Varney Lake at some point in this
Varney
show.
Lake, very good. And then they have Boston Nights coming in October, I think, and that wraps up the Pixel Pulp trilogy.
It's like, yeah, were you
Very good.
this feels like almost like reparations for people like me who ended up stuck with being obsessed with like the Dark Pictures anthology, even though it's not like that
Yeah.
good.
This is
It's
a
like,
good
what if
version of
that idea was good? It's like, ugh. Like, yes. And that's no shade Dark Pictures, because I'm kind of following them into the sunset. I'm like, we're in this together now. I'm on the team, like, in my headcanon.
Yeah,
But
you hear the rumors about that team, by the way? Supermassive?
no.
Working on a Scream game, apparently. I'm all for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know didn't they just get something else too, where it's like they got
The Little Nightmares,
Little Nightmares, yeah.
which is weird.
Yeah.
Didn't they kind of work on it the last one?
I don't think so.
No.
I'll have
So
to
I don't
look
know.
back in it.
Little Nightmares is another one that I'm like, do I toss that on here? It's kind of also it's in this weird like indie floating.
I know,
funky
it's like Bandai,
spot.
but also small.
Yeah,
team.
like now it's exactly right. Also a really fun game though. The first two are really cool. I hope Supermassive lands the plane on that one, because I really like the first two. So whether they're indie or not is a debate. So if they're not
That's
indie,
a
just
whole
mute this
nother
part of the
debate.
podcast.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's going to
Jill.
wrap us up for, hold on for a second, Mike. I'm doing a transition.
Okay.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Do you have Discord open?
Do I have Discord open? Probably. What do you need?
There's a gift for Faith.
No! Why would you do that to me? Oh, Mike, you're so mean.
Look at that lad crawling.
He's
cute.
a
This is
little lad.
cozy.
He's just a little lad. He's gonna
That's like the
crawl under
frog.
Mike's bed and
Yeah, that was the
I'm gonna
frog.
I'm gonna post this on our Twitter account without any context.
Oh no, I was gonna have a nice transition for like happy energy, but now I'm just thinking about the thing I've just seen. So
Let's
topic
crawl
of the
into
show,
next
everyone.
segment.
uh the busy season. Bum bum bum. It is here. Arguably, it's been here for a little bit and it's gonna be going on for a little while. When I put the doc out, Janet saw the name of this and immediately yelled at me in our Discord chat for triggering her. I am sorry, Janet. So yeah, let's go ahead and just like a lot of kind of shows talk about the busy season. We never really talk about what it is. It's sort of like an understood thing. And just because I think I kind of want to make it up to Janet and maybe like help her get through the
There's no
feelings that
safe
she might.
way. It's
Yeah.
best to just keep going and come back for me.
Do you want to talk about your impressions of the busy season, Janet, or do you want to
Yeah.
forget about it?
I can get into it. I mean, I think, it's funny because obviously we work in the game space and do this show. So, like, busy season will mean different things to different people, right? It's kind of the whole point of the topic. Where for us, it's very much a mix of things, right? There's a lot coming out. So, whether you're the person putting stuff out or the person consuming the stuff that gets put out, it's just a lot to keep up with. And I think there's also like a big rush of games, and also like as time starts to shrink down, because I know for me, I'm looking ahead on the calendar and it's like, okay, I got to go as hard as I can in October, because like November, it's going to start to like, we're going to get a little tired. The Thanksgiving turkey is going to get passed around. And then by the time you hit the holidays, especially for end of the year content, which everyone does a little differently, or like, however you want to handle that, it's like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Beat these last 9 games in like the first week of December? Probably not. Like, we kind of need to, it's basically the time to start deciding, what am I committing to and what am I leaving off to the side, where I'm starting to build that backlog and I have my things I want to get to, but it's starting to like, as the window closes. And again, these games still exist, right? You can play things from many years ago and definitely should, but there is that like, am I going to be able to be part of that conversation now, right? Am I going to get to this year's a short hike, or am I going to kick it down the curb and see when I can get to it many years from now? Is it going to be something I play now, or is it going to be like, I never did get to Firewatch or Gone Home or whatever AAA or whatever title that you want to get to. So I think it's a time of decision, and it's a time of a lot of options. And in that creates fear.
Yes. Like the busy season, I think sort of historically, traditionally, we're talking about like the September to December area. You already have games, like for the most part, it's sort of like having had your teacher having given you an assignment at the beginning of the year, and like it's due at the end of the year, and then like a month before the due date, you have like a whole bunch more that you get added on to this assignment. Like that's sort of how it works. Like through the first couple of months or quarters of the year, you you might have a couple of weeks or whatever where you're getting a lot of different drops and things that are happening, but you always sort of have this feeling that like the year has just begun, I've got plenty of time. But at this point you start to realize like the year is ending, you already have a huge backlog. Like, and everything is dropping right now. Traditionally speaking, that is not usually the indie space. Typically indies are trying to get the heck out of the way because this is when the AAAs are dropping, and a lot of that has to do with like the holiday season, and trying to get the awareness and the attention so that people are buying these games for gift giving holidays. So they're trying to drop like right now so that people have the time to hear about how great they are. But that also means that, you want all of these journalists writing about and reviewing your game. So you're trying to get every single journalist on that list, like, come on and play this game. And as a journalist, you know that's how you're going to get your views, and you're starting to like get people's attention. And so this is a really busy season just because you're getting a lot of attention. So you want to make sure you're getting the big stuff too. But also, it's really busy. It's just really busy. Um, I think it is interesting that the way that indies intersect and interact with this time period and how that seemingly seems to be changing for me anyway. That seems to be changing. Um, I think one of my notes I have down here is I say we blame COVID. And I think there
I
is
mean, yeah.
some like truth to that. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I think the reason it's unusually busy, there's always busy times, always busy seasons. Fall is always crazy, but like the fact that October has what at least 2 major releases every single week is not norm. And I think that's mostly due to production schedules like getting delayed and then like starting to get back on track in 2023. Like I'd imagine that Zelda was supposed to come out last year. I'd imagine that Final Fantasy was supposed to come out last year, and I'm sure there's other AAAs that were meant to target 2022, but adapting to work from home in 2020, 2021, like that pushed things back, and everybody wants to get their games out and move on to the next project and or DLC or support or so on and so forth. So yeah, I do blame COVID for just pushing production schedules back and just like making this year slammed. I think next year will normalize a bit, but as I say that, I do already look at like February and January being
So
wild
busy
already,
already.
Yeah.
which is terrifying.
Hmm.
So, but it's not like next year, like we're not gonna. Well, I was gonna say we're not gonna get another Mario game next year, but probably 3D Mario launching with the Switch. But like we're probably not getting another Zelda this next year. Where I was gonna say the same thing about Final Fantasy, but we are getting a Final Fantasy
Yeah.
next year.
I'm so excited.
See, but here's the
We're
Anyways,
getting
interesting
too
but
thing
yeah,
much.
about
yeah.
that.
Next year's
Like,
already booked too, I feel
yeah.
like.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
January's might as well just be 2023 part 2.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Well, and that's the
wondering.
thing for like I think for insight on like the publisher side or even the game developer side is like especially if you're working with a large portfolio or platforms too. Like what Janet said about 2024 being booked, it is already booked. Like
Yeah.
when as a publisher we're talking about our titles, we're now looking into like 2025 and beyond because 2024 is pretty much locked in already, which is scary
Right.
just for
And
my
Would you
workload sanity.
say
Yeah.
that's typically like how far out stuff goes just behind the scenes, or is that unique to there being just so much to like sort of slot that's how far the slotting goes?
I feel like the timeline is pretty normal. Like I think generally people try to look out like there's like the 3-year plan. Like that's pretty standard. What has been interesting is a lot of the shifts back, and so I think what's been interesting is, for example, just from my workplace, we've had 2 games already this year, Flintlock and Pacific Drive, which were originally slated for earlier and now have been pushed to 2024. So it's like there is this residual ripple effect where things are not as much but still getting bumped back. So I think again like Mike said, I think we're going to still feel the repercussions of this for a little while yet.
yeah, and we've
I
had
don't
a
think.
couple of notable indies actually come out and kind of say, "We are totally ready to go with our game, but we're moving to get out of the busy season, to get out of the way of AAAs." The 2 that I had, floating around on the top of my head was really recently Worldless, which is a game I'm very excited to play. Was set originally to release in early October and just moved itself into November. Um, and then Banisher's Ghost of New Eden is also something that was like, hey, there's a lot going on right now. To give us a chance to really shine, we're going to move into 2024, even though the game's ready. So I think that is that it's such an indication of what's happening this year with just being so busy and some of the ripples from COVID. And I am very interested to see if this changes, quote unquote, the busy season, because we are talking about how earlier this year, and I think 2022, we were having discussions about this too. The first couple of months of the year are historically pretty quiet. You're trying to like desperately find things to cover, but they haven't been in the past
Nope.
couple of years. They have been hard hitting. Like you're already coming up with game of the year contenders. And I'm very interested to see like that's going to happen next year. We're already talking about like early games. I'm thinking of like another Crab's Treasure is a big one for me that I'm excited for. That's coming early 2024. There are a ton of other things that are moving out to 2024. Like Devolver Digital did a big like these are all the games we're delaying. I wonder if this busy season model is going to change, not just temporarily because of the ripples, but if people are going to start to realize like, hey, we're still getting like good like people revenue and people's attention and not have to crunch it all into a couple of months. I'm really interested to see if because again, this was a time period the first couple of months of the year that was really good for indies to release because they didn't have that competition, and you kind of saw that go through the earlier months, and then they kind of slow down. But like they're getting stomped on in a lot of cases with games that are AAA games coming out and they didn't realize it, so now they have to move back, and they're moving back because now they're it's and the schedule is so messed up, and I'm very interested to see where this ripple kind of ends up. Or I don't know, maybe that's just like a weird vibe that's happening, but like behind the scenes, Mike, what do you feel like is happening here?
I will say, I'm just not really answering your question, but I'm just like full of like stress from this year. On the PR side of things, vying for attention is impossible. Um, unless unless you get lucky and you find an editor or a writer or a podcaster or somebody who just so happened to wrap up the Alan Wake preview and has like a couple days to spend on an indie game, like it starts to turn into just
Damn,
like
that's me.
Yeah.
it starts to turn into like a roll of the dice. And not to like call anybody out specifically, but like we have an internal chat in our work Discord of like, hey, yeah, this editor is booked until November. Hey, this person is not accepting any keys right now. Hey, like let's not bother this person. Let's not bother that person. It's a wasted effort. And it sucks when like you have a client like spending hard-earned money for us to put the news in front of people, but like and people read the news, like we could see the numbers of like people opening the news and reading and clicking and being engaged, but just straight up don't have the bandwidth to cover any games because they are booked out for Assassin's Creed and Detective Pikachu and Spider-Man and Sonic and Mario and so on and so forth. And not to mention like I'm helping a launch this week on Friday. Counter-Strike 2 just dropped today. There goes my fight for the PC side of things for this week.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I'm. It's a lot. Like, thankfully, like a lot of my games have been lucky enough to get attention, but like there are obviously like everybody wants the PC gamer piece. Everybody wants a shout out from IGN. Everybody wants GameSpot to highlight their games, but like unfortunately, Spider-Man's gonna get more clicks and be the new hotness that gets the engagement, and something like you know Goobies, for example, it ain't
Gooby's
gonna
gag.
ain't
That's why we
gonna
do
bring
what we
in the
do
rev.
over on the show.
Yeah,
But no,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, even on
it's
our
so
side of
tough.
things, it's like
it's tough,
for my job is
dude.
I cover indies
Yeah,
exclusively, and the amount of things that I'm getting right now, I have had every day to be writing like I'm so sorry I don't have the time that I would want to dedicate to this because I don't like to do things like I looked at it, it was fine and go on. Like I like to put time into it. So
dude. Especially now with Next Fest coming up in a couple weeks, like Next
Mhm.
Fest pushes are happening like earlier and earlier every single
yeah.
time because we need to like like folks like Wanderbots and Splattercat and Blitz, they get booked out way in advance, and like if you don't start your Next Fest efforts like 2-3 weeks ahead of time, no shot.
Yeah. Janet?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that like it's it's just tough, because there's so much, and we don't have as much because like this is always the busy time for like general AAA releases, but this is also like the busiest version of the busiest time that we've ever had not just in the amount of content and like high quality content coming out, but also in the scope of that content. You know, this is a year where like, again,
Mhm.
not an indie game, but like Final Fantasy 16 or whatever. Like I played like a couple hours and I'm like, you know what? I've decided I'm not going to finish this. Just don't feel like putting in the extra time to it because it would take me another 40 or 60 hours to even see the end. And guess what? I have like 8 other games that take that much, you know, I just started Baldur's Gate 3. It's like, you know, and so as far as I think the indie coverage of it, whether it's just like our own edification, our own desire, whether it's for like to have a shout out for what we've been playing for like this show, you really have to kind of just pick your spots, like more so than ever. From the content side of things too, like over on Minimax, we obviously like we'll plan out like our shows, and like sometimes there's not as much like an obvious answer for like what the show's about. So it's like, okay, maybe that's where we can kind of spread our like wings a little bit more and kind of, you know, oh, well, has anyone been playing this? And you can kind of like highlight and craft a narrative around an episode. We've been waiting for like a chill week for like weeks to like get around to doing our, like, we really want to do like the farming sim indie segment. But even in that, where we're like, oh, it's cool. Well, we kind of want to push that back so we can all have more time with the game. You know, we can all put more hours into Fae Farm. But we're like, oh, by the way, like Paleo Pines is also coming out. So like toss that onto there. Oh, by the way, that shoot, I forget the name of the game. We talked about it last week. The like, it's like the island, Moonstone Island.
Yeah.
Is that
Moonstone
right?
Oh,
Is it
yeah,
Island, I think
Moonstone
that's it.
Island. Yeah.
yeah, like that also came out, and it's like, oh, that's and it's like, okay, well, I get we want to highlight all these games, but like if they're all like kind of time sinky games, like are we all really gonna put like 20 hours each into each of these games? You know, and obviously you don't need to play X amount of hours to talk about a game necessarily, but there are just so many titles, even in the indie space, that warrant a fairly heavy time sink because of the style or the genre of the game. You know, so it just ends up being a tough spot too, where it's like how many deep, you know, to Jill's point of like putting in the time that is required to really like get a take or whatever. Sometimes that time sink can be quite demanding as well. So then it's just like, okay, well, where am I picking my spot? Like, then there's lingering things too. Like I was talking about the game that I played last week, The Many Pieces of Mr. Ku or Co.
Mhm.
I'm like, I really want to beat that game. I liked it a lot, and I do want to beat it. And I only have like an hour or two left because it's only like a 2 hour-ish game. But it's like, okay, when do I want to be like, this is the hour? And then I'm sitting down, and then at a certain point, you get in your own head. You're like, well, am I really like approaching it with the right, you know, attitude? I want to enjoy, and you're being
Yeah.
pulled in, I think, all these directions at once. Whether it's again the demands of your core content or a day job, or the things that you want to make time for that maybe in a normal year or a less busy year it's not too bad to like get around to it, but now it's like I can't just wait to get around. I have to book it out even on my own personal calendar because I won't make it otherwise. And meanwhile things keep
Right.
coming out. Good problem to have in some ways, but it has its
Yeah.
Sure,
own
yeah.
stresses, I think. And even if you're just a player, like everyone has a backlog, right? That's like the meme of being a gamer, and it's like now more than ever, like the amount of food is overwhelming. Like I'm stuffed and I'm like, I can't eat anymore. I'm gonna be ill.
It's
Mhm.
funny, like on the content side of things, yeah, good problem to have. We're just swimming in games, but like with me and Jenny, it's like it's stressful. Like we feel
Yeah.
fucked for like not to speak for Jenny, I feel fucked for the holiday and for this month. Granted, again, like thankfully, like certain games are getting good attention, so on and so forth. But like I'm already thinking about like talking a little bit about 2024 and how like it's starting to like pick up a little bit, especially in January and February. I to kind of like be the mirror opposite or whatever, like the parity between like the publishing side of things, like I do have a campaign that's planned out. Like I have beats planned out through next August, and I am working on a game that is with a certain genre, and that certain genre is expecting to have a major fucking release at some point next year.
Mm.
And in my mind, I'm like, okay, when? Hopefully
Mhm.
it's not on this day when I have this announcement planned or this showcase is happening or so on and so forth. And that's kind of the game that we always have to play. And like with fall, and like thankfully at this point it seems like October is locked in. Again, Counter-Strike dropping today is a real pain in the ass. So hopefully we don't get any more stealth drops when I find some sort of opening in October. But like having to pick and choose your battles and like trying to be strategic with it while also trying to be as lenient with the devs as possible and following their plan and like what their ideal structure is. Such a fucking headache. Again, good problem to have as a gamer, as a fan, as a content creator, but man, it is. I cannot wait to get through November ish. Like
Mhm.
let me get past Call of Duty. fuck yeah, let's go.
We need to bring back. Remember that one year where it's like, this year wasn't that great for games. And people were like, what do you mean? Like, I love this game. We need that year back. Like, I'm
Seriously.
ready to bring back the whack year. Give me some C tier Nintendo, baby. It's like, you don't even need to touch this. It's fine.
No, but here's the thing. I think there's kind of a dichotomy. The optimistic part of me, and things I'm kind of covering, you can see on my like station to station preview that I just put up. I'm sort of leaning into the like, I know you don't have a lot of time, so here's like a game you can jump into, and it's just relaxing, and it's
Right,
not
yeah.
like that they. So like on some level, indies are very good for this time period because you can argue like, hey, there's a $50 million hour game that you have to play over here, and that's stressful. But you could jump in and like connect little train pieces together. Doesn't that sound fun and relaxing in this busy time period? But yeah, and then
I'm gonna borrow that pitch for this week.
go for it. I also want to talk a little bit. I know that Jenny was starting to jump in, so I'm gonna hold off on my thought, but I want to say it just before I forget. Of content creation in the holidays. So Jenny, go ahead. I'm gonna rumulate. That's not a
Wait,
word. but
sorry. Do you
whatever.
want me to talk about
Go
content
ahead,
creation
Jenny.
in the holidays?
No, you go
or-
ahead on whatever you were gonna say.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like I, it's kind of one of those feelings I get when we kind of go back to our first episode. I think it was our first episode when we talk about curation, and just as from a player standpoint, like how kind of important it is to know like what you want to even get out of gaming at a certain level, because there are so many options. Like I found myself being a little bit more reflective in my play styles simply because there are so many options. And like being very okay with not finishing a game. And because I think that's something I personally have had a hard time grappling with. I've just always been like, oh, I bet I need to finish it because, I want to give it the full go and like give it the full chance to breathe. And I think, just having that opportunity and like understanding yourself as a player is really important. And this is definitely the year I found myself learning a lot about how I just consume games and media in general, because there's just a lot of every kind of media at this point. But yet I say every holiday, I'm like, oh, my 2-week Christmas break, I'm going to totally finish all these games.
Mhm.
And yeah, so there's that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's somewhat strange to me, and it seems backwards that like a holiday for my experience in content creation, um, makes everything else so much busier. And I think that's part of why the busy season is so busy, because you're trying so hard to get everything out of the way before a holiday. So,
That too.
like things like
You crunching for vacation. It's like
yeah, if you're
every
thinking
single
about
vacation, it's like, you're working a lot to
Well, it's
prep
like
for this
also
vacation.
on
Is
the
it really a
PR side of
break? And I'm like,
things.
I didn't ask you anything. I'm just trying to get ready
right.
for my vacation.
And if
Yeah,
it
that's
is a
the
break,
conversation I have with my partner all the time.
Okay, no, I was gonna add him, Jenny,
Yeah.
but this is literally like an Isaiah subtweet. He's like,
Yeah.
have you noticed that you're working like nonstop before you take your like 2 days off? Is that counterproductive at a certain point? And I'm like, look, I don't need these
Yeah.
theoretical questions.
Yeah.
All right.
because it
Are you gonna
is
take
one
me
of
to
those
Target or not? All right, let's,
Yeah.
let's go. We got
Always.
things to do.
I need my fake plant now. I think, yeah, when I have a planned time off, like say I'm going somewhere for Thanksgiving, people are consuming things more because they're off. That's the time where people are like, I need entertainment. I want
I need to avoid
things.
my family,
Yeah.
It's like we're
I'm
all on our
looking for
phones.
things to buy to like, that's why the things to play with your family at this time of year is such a like common thing list to see, because that's what people are sort of looking for. And it's so weird because I started out in another life. I started out my career in like museums, and it's another situation where this is very similar, where that's what people do when they're off. So you don't get that time off. And then on this side of things, that's sort of the same thing. I mean, I've never worked in a place that didn't give you time off for Thanksgiving or winter break or what have you.
I did.
But like, you kind of have to have things ready to go during that time.
The
You don't get
GameStop
it just
Thanksgiving
go.
flashback.
Yeah,
Right.
so
GameStop,
like,
exactly.
Okay. Okay. Oh my God.
SGA, Janet, let's go.
Yeah, man. You're worried. The amount of people. Sorry, I feel like I don't want to. Jill, finish your thought, and then I'll have my GameStop moment.
Yeah, so you are, like, doing twice the amount of work per day up until you get there so that you can, like, "Okay, I've got my stuff up for today, and then I've got stuff that will post while I'm gone,
Right.
and I'll while I'm on vacation, make sure that that's all posting correctly." So there is a lot of just the busy season actually just being busy again.
And on the PR side of things, we are very conscious of that. It's like after Thanksgiving, is there like really a point to like announce a new game? Because everybody's just focusing on Game of the Year content and just trying to wrap things up and so on and so forth. So like,
Except for the
yeah,
TGAs.
except for the
When-
TGS.
There's one chance to announce something in
Yeah,
that December window, and it's like the TGA week with all of those events.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's yeah, so it just like shrinks down the time even more. And like obviously like a lot
Hmm.
of the indie games are like the other indies that are vying for attention, they are very aware of that as well. So like we're all just like trying to squeeze into that same window, like
Hmm.
just poking PC Gamer and poking IGN, be like, please look out.
And it's funny what sort of the result of that is I've noticed for the past couple of months, there's, like every week, there's, like, a day that, like, everything comes out on, embargoes are all that
Yeah.
day, and I'm like, I know it's because, you were trying to avoid this presentation and that game announcement and, like, all of this stuff is happening, but it's like, I can't do everything on Thursday, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see a lot of that like sync up. It's almost like the school exam effect where it's like, why did everyone have the exam for this day? Didn't people talk to each other? And it's like, no, not necessarily. Like the math department is different than the English department, and like they didn't know that that test was the same. That even happened with like on the AAA side, like the Alan Wake, Final Fantasy, Spider-Man
Hmm.
trifecta of like people just moved to LA for a week and they're like, I have 8 games to cover, and it's like,
Yeah.
and it's funny how like much of obviously there are different scales and scopes and like budget and like automatic attention, right? Like the people making Insomniac doesn't have to be like, hey, can you make sure you're going to cover our game? Like everyone, people who can't get your game are covering the game. You know what I mean? Like that's that kind of attention it has, but there's still that feeling of like when we were like at when I was at like the Alan Wake preview, like the PR people were like, yeah, like we hope this is like you maybe previewed a lot of games this week, but like we think ours will be the best, or we hope so. And it's kind of like nervous sweat bead, and it's like even though obviously you can argue that like some of those games are bigger than others, even in just that 3 AAA list, but like there is still always that feeling. Like I think the anxiety of putting your art out and trying to get attention and profit from that art cuts through like all of the industry. I wish we were united over something that wasn't so stressful, but that is probably one of our only
Yeah.
unifying factors:
I will say
stress
too,
and lack of time.
to put a positive spin on what I was saying a little bit earlier, like I know I like played it up a little bit just for personality wise, saying like, yeah, we're so fucked. We're not fucked. It's fine. But it gives a great opportunity for a lot of the maybe like not the IGNs of the world, not the GameSpots, not the Game Rants, the gamers, like some of the smaller mid tier sites to like really rise up and like really shout out some of these really cool games that are coming out and like put a spotlight on something that a lot of people may not be paying attention to, because no matter what size the audience is, and like Jen and I were kind of touching on this a little bit with like some of the influencer relations stuff, I don't gatekeep people purely due to numbers or anything. Like I will always give somebody a chance, like as long as you're making authentic content and you're enthusiastic and you're not a scumbag, I will give you a key for a game and give you a shot to like really have something exclusive, have something new to say, have something fresh to say that some of the other big players in the space may not have the time to do so. And like, yeah, have you carve out your niche. So yeah, it's as busy as it is for the heavy hitters, and like obviously everybody wants again a shout out from the heavy hitters. It's a great opportunity to get a piece on the Indie Informer or on 6-1 Indie or so on and so forth. Pentapixels,
100%. Yeah, it is.
decent grounds.
Yeah,
Kim
and
Chicken.
it is. You can gloss over this in the kind of stress and getting hung up on it, but it is very much like the keys to the candy shop are yours.
Yeah.
You can like go in and pick up gumballs with two hands and like you have literally more than you can handle, and that's scary on one side, but like that's also sort of magical on the other side of
Yeah.
like there is so much, and so much of it is good, and there's so much to share, and my enthusiasm just boils over with things that I want like to share with people. That's why we get into this, is we just want people to know like this thing is cool and I want to share it with you. It's the essential, like, whether you're on the media or the PR side or the game developer side, like that's kind of essential to what we're doing here in the first place. And there's no one is arguing that there's not an abundance of that in the busy season. So with that positive note, let's head on over to games we've been playing. And I think Mike and I have something, the same things, the same something that I really want to shout out. And that is
Oh,
Mike, if you would like to take it away.
El Paso Elsewhere, the coolest fucking game of the
Woohoo.
year. by the
Oh
way.
my god,
This thing is
I
just
feel cool playing
oozing
it.
with style. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were shouting out tiny little indie game Alan Wake a little bit. This game, it does the control thing so well, like the big font, the music, the set pieces,
I love
the
a big font.
colors, the direction. I hate how you said that.
Give me that big font.
See, I didn't go that. You took it. See, you took the subtext and you made it text. That's the thing.
like fonts, text.
I need at least
Yeah, there's a lot going on here.
Oh, I wasn't I was gonna take it way too far and I've stopped myself. Continue, Mike.
What the fuck? Go ahead, Mike. Jeez.
So, if you're unfamiliar, El Paso Elsewhere by Strange Scaffold, it is a low poly HD third-person shooter in the same vein of like a Max Payne, where you are going around these little biomes or I guess literally levels, and you have like slow motion bullet time, and you're shooting all these ghouls and baddies and all this like cool stuff. I think we mentioned maybe it was when I guess it was Next Fest when the demo dropped. Just how much style this game oozes, and that's to credit to like the art direction and the direction when it comes to the voice acting. Like that main actor, I'm blanking on his name, but he is so good as that protagonist. And they do a production thing where like I'm gonna geek out a little bit about my past life, my audio stuff. Like they clearly gave him the direction of like pumping the gain on the mic up a little bit and having him talk real low and real close to the microphone to get this really smooth tone, and it works so damn well. It is just so
That was
freaking
so
cool.
immersive. I was
I
like,
know.
whoa.
I was in a different space. But that's what the game is. So he did
No,
really
that
good.
that was like,
immersive
yeah,
space,
that
yeah.
sounds so cool.
I do want to shout out the soundtrack and the score.
Yes.
This crazy bastard decided to put out an entire hip hop record based on this.
Original.
Or that is in the original hip hop record that is heard in the game, but like it's out on Bandcamp now. It's getting a vinyl release. I cannot wait. I've been stuck on that record. That's been like my writing record when like typing out pitches and press releases all week so far. It is so good.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely amazing. It is not like the graphics are not like realistic in any way. Like the character doesn't have eyeballs, but there's one moment in one scene where they're looking you in the eyes, even though they don't have eyes, and I feel it in my soul. And he counts to 3, and
Oh
I'm
my
just
God,
like,
so
what's
good.
gonna happen at 3? What's gonna happen? And then it just like blows my mind, and it's so good. Anybody who has been thinking about playing this game, anyone who's just like tangentially interested in it should definitely come and check this out. I'm also really loving Xavier Nelson reaction to the game
Everything,
doing
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Like all
It's
of
so
the
wholesome.
like yeah, I want to post one of the videos in the description below because it's just like, what? This is happening? And he's so genuinely excited. And it's one of the things I love about covering indie games is like that kind of genuine excitement about something actually like showing up on the front page of Xbox is so just heartwarming to see. I love it so much.
I feel like
Wow,
too, like
yeah.
I haven't dipped into this and I don't know if I like again, will I get around to it? I'm not sure. I don't want to commit to
Yeah.
it yet, but I follow Xavier Nelson on TikTok, and the way that like Xavier's been working his ass off on like content. Like it's like on my For You page, it's just like nonstop. Like I like have, to your point, it's like it makes me more invested just in like the whole situation, just like how intensive and detailed and answering questions and like talking about like the process. Like it's probably just the content creator in me, but I have a deep admiration for someone who's willing to go out there and hustle their shit and be
Yep.
authentic and be real and just have that. Again, everyone's kind of, they want their game to do well and they have all these aspects. I'm not saying everyone needs to become a content creator if you're a developer. I guess for a lot of people, they actively don't want to, be a face or anything, but I just really respect the hustle of it, for like the ramp up of that lead, like the fact that I knew so much like about it just naturally from that quick follow, it just showing up on my algorithm 8 times over. I really respect that a lot.
I mean, that's kind of the thing.
100%.
Going back to the
A
last,
quick note on name pronunciation: Salavier. If
I was
thanks.
so
yes.
close.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, kind of going back to the last topic really quick, you kind of have to go outside the box a little bit if you want to stand out. Like El Paso Elsewhere has been a name that, like, I think the somewhat mainstream has been familiar with for quite some time now. I mean, like, it's getting reviews from like a lot of top tier sites, so a lot of people
Mhm.
are paying attention to it already. It was on their radar. Obviously, like, yes, he like myself, an agent of chaos, I would say, and he embraces it and like really leans into it and makes some great content, like very insightful stuff. But also, like, there was a whole string about Sunshine
Sunshine
Shuffle
Shuffle.
getting banned for child gambling and just leaning into the joke to some extent, and also like getting banned for bringing pills on the airport for GDC
Yeah,
or
I
pill
got one
bottles,
of
not
those. It
pills.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like you kind of do have to step outside the box to some extent. Like, yeah, like content creation and game dev, two very exhausting activities. So how he has the bandwidth to do so, wild. I don't understand it, but like, yeah, it seems to be paying off, and congrats.
Yeah,
I have to
100%.
shout out one other chaotic thing that he did was oh god, the whole title, it's like the airport run by dogs.
Dogs
An
That
airport,
game.
an airport for
temporarily run.
aliens,
Just,
an airport for aliens currently run by dogs.
there we
Yes, an airport for aliens currently run by dogs. I think, if I remember correctly, because he had these like boarding gate passes that he made, and I think he actually also got sort of pulled over or pulled aside, or someone at the airport talked to him because they were just like, "What are all these like boarding passes?" He's like, "No, it's for my game." And so yeah, he's like always got these really, really innovative ways and really just like sticky ways of making games, just like whatever he's doing will stick with you because he just
Yeah.
finds a way to just make it unique, besides just being a fun game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the man who created a Connect compatible game in the year of our Lord, like 2021, 2022.
a visionary,
Incredible.
truly. I'm gonna jump over to Janet actually because Mike and Janet have something they very much want to talk about. Lies of
Yeah.
P.
Yeah, this is the debate, the great debate. Is it an indie? It's at ID at Xbox, so I think
No?
that's
Said so.
that's it. And it was on
Let's go.
Jill's site, so it's like that's 2 out of 2. I think the maths, But yeah,
Yeah.
why not? This is like a very, the kind of conversation we had before recording was, I guess, like the financial backing aspect. Like, I don't know. It's like it's a bougie indie if it's an indie.
Posh.
Yeah, it's posh. The Lies of Posh.
That's what the P stands for. I love it.
But yeah, it was included in that suite of ID at Xbox demos back in the day before it came out. But this is a Soulsborne game where you're Pinocchio. That's the end and the long and the short of it. But I'm really loving this game, even though I'm not really a Souls person. Played Demon Souls and I beat it, but I had a lot of help. Backseated and also like people zooming into my game to carry me. I'm like, y'all run ahead. I'll stay alive back here because if I die, you vanish from my game. We have to do it all over again. That was a lot of the game for me. I do try to dip into pretty much all the big releases in this genre at this point. Elden Ring, Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Like I'll try to. I'm a firm believer that there is a game in every genre that everyone can like. It's just that like some genres bear more fruit for you than others. Like for me, like I love a platformer. I love a bad platformer, a good platformer. And I jump. I love it. Souls games, not the deal for me. It's got to be really specific. And the Lies of P flavor, as gross as that sounds, is just, there's something about it that I just am really enjoying. I think it's the aesthetic, the maybe the weird dodge works for me. I don't know what it is, but like I keep surviving and living, and I am a big fan of the person that helps you level up. Like her design is just super cool. Like I don't know, something about this is so has like seeped into my mind and my life and my heart and my mind. But Mike, Where are you at with this game?
So I am a big Souls person. Bloodborne is probably like top 3 favorite game of all time. And this game is unabashedly Bloodborne in terms of its like setting and direction. Like Sophie, who is the person you're referring to level up, like straight up the doll in Bloodborne.
Mhm.
Like as far as like the direction
Yeah.
in like the voice acting and the tone of voice that they were going for. And you know what?
Also,
It's
Barefoot
fine.
Lady
It
and Demon
works.
Souls, but
And Barefoot Lady and Demon Souls, yeah.
yeah,
And
which like that's favorite characters there, like iconic
Yeah.
moments.
um yeah, they knew what they were going for and they nailed the assignment. This is easily the best non-developed FromSoft Souls game out there. Like this is there have been close contenders like Mortal Shell, Thymesia, Steel Rising, but none of them felt like totally there. Like Thymesia didn't feel super balanced. Janet, like you, I am not a parry person. Like I can't with the timing. Like sometimes
Mhm.
I luck out, but like 9 times out of 10, I am just dodging. I am just spamming dodge or spamming block to hopefully get a perfect parry. So that's why like Mortal Shell didn't work with me. Steel Rising close, but I think like the setting and some of the set dressing, like it didn't really hit super hard for me. But the fact that you could take a property like Pinocchio and like have the imagination to spin it in such like a weird, dark, sinister manner, and like the story and the lore and like everything that's going on around the world, absolutely fascinating. Um, and like there's this debate or I guess conversation around the FromSoft games where like there's no story in the game. There's story, it's just you have to work for it. Like you have to read every single item description and whatnot. But Lies of P is a little more forgiving in that sense, where it does like give you cutscenes and dialogue and you to some extent you understand what is happening. Sure, you will get additional lore and additional context if you do go into the weapons and the items and all that. It also like improves the FromSoft stuff greatly in some senses, where like in any Dark Souls, Demon Souls, whatever, like let's say you go into a boss room with like 10,000 souls, you die at the boss, your souls are just in the boss room, and like you have to either grab your souls and quickly use the item to bounce out of the room, or grab your souls and keep grabbing them until you defeat the boss. In Lies of P, you go in with a boatload of souls or ergo in this game. You die, your ergo is outside of the boss gate, which is a fantastic quality of life thing that it just changes the game immensely and takes away a lot of the stress and anxiety that goes into a big boss battle. Now there's some things that there is a little ass backwards. Why I have to travel to the hub every single time I want to level up, don't know. Super dumb. Just let me do it at the Stargazer. Real dumb. But yeah, from front to back, I put 30 hours into this game. I completed it. I did an all lie ending. And goddamn, and got like the true ending or whatever. Goddamn, this game is like immaculate from start to finish. I tried to play other games tonight. Like I want to play more of El Paso Elsewhere, but I was like, what if I start a new game plus run? What if I start an all
Mhm.
truth run right now? Um,
Danger.
and like the new game plus stuff, like Janet, I don't know, where are you in the game exactly?
I'm like I feel, I feel like I'm really early. I think my clock says I don't know, I'm something ridiculous like 18, 20 hours in,
Okay.
and I'm like I just barely got to like was it Moon the Valley of Death, or I don't know what it is. It's like after the fiery boss, like for
Okay.
Ko, like a little bit after that. Like I'm 2 stargazers after that, where you can fight the optional boss who's like in front of the cable car. Like I just killed that optional
Okay.
boss, if you want to call them that. They're like a big enemy, but they have like a big
Yeah, big
bar.
enemies.
Like for
Yeah.
guides purposes, that's a boss. Like, you know.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
right
probably like a
there.
third.
Okay,
Like a
that's
third.
not bad because I have a fear that this game will eventually be like you can't get good enough to finish it because I really like
So
it
the
and I'm
update
scared.
today nerfed a lot of like the last boss. The last boss was a pain in the fucking ass. I got him. I
Okay.
beat him. It was great. It was very satisfying. But goddamn, and today they decided to nerf him and a couple other folks, so you should be
Yes.
okay.
Hell yeah. Because here's the thing. To me, in my mind, and maybe I'm like, I don't know, not giving myself enough credit for like the skill I have as a gamer, but I genuinely just don't think
Doesn't
I'm very good at
matter.
these games. It's I feel like this is Souls born for non-souls people. It's like if you're just like a little bit willing to like do the repetition part of like fighting the same thing over and over again and like kind of the grind, which I am always willing to do because I don't have a choice. Like there is no the fastest and it's funny because this is like I'm playing it so slowly and everyone's like, no, like, you know, take your time, like say whatever. I'm like, it's cute that you think I'm taking my time. This is as fast as I can go. Like, I cannot go any faster. But I think to your point, Mike, like a lot of the aspects I think are a little bit easier than
It is.
traditional Souls. Like, there's a good amount of stargazers, aka the little kind of save points, essentially,
The
if you want to think of it in that
bonfires.
way. Like, there's a good amount. The
The
satisfying, like,
shortcuts
yes,
are
the
really good. They're
the
really
shortcuts,
forgiving.
shortcuttily, like they're amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, and there's something so satisfying about, going all the way around, then you open the gate, and it's like,
Oh, yeah.
no, we're back at the beginning. Like, I think that's
And
it's so good. I don't know.
even like going a step further with that, like all the levels, there is some like rewarding nature to like exploring around and finding like hidden items and stuff like that. The levels to some extent pretty linear, so like you won't find yourself too lost. That you'll never really miss a shortcut, which is great. Um, Another fantastic thing, and the FromSoft games have these for a lot of the bosses, but the fact that like there is this little fountain thing where you could summon a little
Your
buddy
buddy?
to help you
Yeah.
out at almost every boss. For story purposes, I guess they kind of take that away for a couple of the bosses, but the fact that 90% of the boss fights can be fought with a little friend, great. The little friend's not gonna kick the boss's ass for you, but it's a great distraction. That's the
Yeah.
purpose of these little guys. I say little guys, they're men. They're
Especially that
they're
second
lads.
time that they're there. And the first time I'm like, for the Watchmen, I'm like, oh, okay. This person's great. This little robot man person ghost. For the fiery guy, who I keep calling Foy Coco, that's the name of the Pokemon. I don't know what his
That's
real
a
name
Pokemon.
is. But he's in my mind, I'm like, that's Foy Coco, Lord of the Fires or whatever the fuck. The little buddy, I was like, he needs to look. He needs to get good, because I'm like, look, this guy is he's standing at point blank range and he does
Yeah.
not move out of the way. I was like,
But the good thing is that there are things later on that help
Yes.
him get good.
I hear about like and I think again, and I feel like too, what I like about this is it's a Souls game that I feel like I really can mostly play on my own. Like, and I get it's what people like about the Souls games a lot, and I don't mind like the community aspect of things, but I don't like feeling like if I don't have someone literally telling me all this big chunk of information, I can't do it at all. I feel like it takes the fun of the exploration, the experience a little bit out of it, because I have to like basically like be consulting a book or my chat or something. Lies of P, other than some quick tips on, I asked like Blessing, like from Kind of Funny, because he did the review. I'm like, what should I spec into? Like, I'm not that great. So like, what should I be specking into? He's like, oh, motivity, capacity, and health. And I was like, cool. I took that. I'm running with that. I don't need really any other information. Like, the game pretty easily explains most stuff, which I know is like base level. It sounds base level game design, but a lot of Soul stuff is very,
Like
it's
opaque.
so discover it on your own that I feel like I can't figure it out, and like I don't really like how hard it is for me to just understand even what I'm doing. And I think Lies of P really streamlines it a lot, where it's like, if you can understand like 5 basic principles, you're basically good. And I'm like, okay,
The grand
great.
confidence, some might say.
Do you think that if you weren't a Souls person and you check this out and it's like a Souls, like good for that person who may not be totally into, you think they could step from Lies of P into like a Demon Souls or a Dark Souls and be like, oh, now I get this better?
I don't know if you were asking me or Janet.
I think you should answer
Whoever
it.
wants to answer.
And then I'll give like maybe a 2 cents, but I think you'll have the actual answer because you've played those other games.
I think it's a good gateway drug. I think it'll help you understand the core concepts of how you should handle bosses and tough enemies, and you could take that knowledge into something like, all right, I know it's like, it's gonna sound ridiculous, but like I would say Elden Ring is probably the most approachable out of all the FromSoft games. Like, granted, it is a massive experience, but the fact that you could potentially get stuck somewhere, you could just say, fuck that guy, I'll do him in 12 hours, let me go in a different direction and level up a little bit. It's great.
I
And
wasn't
some
gonna
of
say
the
anything,
big fonts.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that Janet mentioned, like with a lot of the FromSoft games, they don't really explain a lot of things. Like Elden Ring, for example, like does answer some of that to some extent. Like there is an actual tutorial and actual like guides to explain like what each thing means and like what are some of these stats and what are some of these qualities and so on and so forth. So I do think Lies of P is a fantastic starting point for the genre. I think it is the most approachable when it comes to like wanting to dip your toes into things. That goes for the mechanics, that goes for a lot of the lore stuff, that goes for just kind of that connection to Pinocchio. Like obviously like everybody and their mother knows Pinocchio and like what that story is. So it's a fun take on a narrative to kind of go through. Um and yeah, after that, if you want to mess with if you like the setting and like the darkness of it, like I think Bloodborne is, aside from Elden Ring, I think Bloodborne is another like great step into FromSoft. And then yeah, Elden Ring for like kind of the more choose your own adventure side of things is really good.
I'm scared for how scary like Bloodborne is though. Like I think the
It's great.
monsters and stuff are like really scary
Yeah.
in Bloodborne.
Oh, it's so good.
As someone that came from Demon Souls, I see a lot of Demon Souls in this, but that's because I only look at everything with a Demon Souls lens where I'm like, oh, this the one hallway and that's like the game. Yes. And I like that aspect of it. Elden Ring, I found it was too open. I got scared. I was like, I'm confused.
Which is
And people
fair.
were like, you don't have to be confused, just go in a different direction. And I'm like, that's not that helpful for me. Like I crave structure at this point in my soul's life. So I would go from this to maybe like, I guess maybe a Bloodborne or like a Demon Souls, even though Demon Souls is very like dry, traditionalist, boring and rote, but I kind of like that because it creates a structure where it's like rinse and repeat and you're basically through almost all of Demon Souls for the most part. But we'll see where my journey takes me. Right now I'm enjoying this weird thing of like, yeah, the better versions of this that are the OGs, fuck that. I'm hanging out here with my boy Pinocchio and this fake Jiminy who's spelled like Gemini or something, but like I
Gemini.
don't care. We're
Yep.
hanging out. We're chasing butterflies and fighting robots, and it's just a fun time. So
I'm
hopefully I
down.
can see it through to the end. But
I will say, like, and I'm again, we were saying this like before we start recording. I'm shocked there hasn't been articles of like ending explained. Oh my god,
think
did you see this? Blah blah blah.
Can I have like a moment for a second? Because I don't want to be like a jerk, but I feel like and I haven't sought out a lot of guides for this game, admittedly, because I'm like, I kind of want to just do my own thing. Like, I'm not having too hard of a time, so I don't think I need like big cheese strats. But I have looked up a couple things just to get a sense of like, where am I in the game? And
Sure.
I was like, and now maybe people didn't get code like ahead in time. It's still a hard game, but I'm like, yo, y'all are lacking. Where are the where are the detail? I'm like, where's the full
Shout
on?
out.
You know, like we.
Shout out to Fextra Life. Fextra Life has a great guide for
Sure.
YSP. But I'm buddies with the person who did the PR for this game, and he was, and I texted him like I'm referring to the post credit scene. The post credit scene is one of the most hype bonkers.
I've been
things I've
hearing
ever
a lot
witnessed
of
in my life.
rumblings about this scene.
And I texted him that. He was like, yeah, weirdly enough, nobody noticed. Like barely anybody noticed, and like didn't put two and two together. I'm like, how?
I think it's just
fucking
taking
crazy.
I'm guessing that it's just taking a lot of time for people to, and it's a lot of work. So like, and
yeah,
also
of
if you
course.
want to like live and not go through, maybe I come from too much of a like, look, it's out, we're getting it done. You know, who needs to take a break? I don't know. Like, it's very easy to get crunchy when it comes to doing a guide for a video game. So like, I definitely don't want that to happen for people. But I'm a little surprised that like there isn't more stuff and detailed stuff out, but like we could, again, that's a whole nother convo of like the SEO game of like, well, like if we can only hire for this kind of page, we just want like a bossless page and we don't want like the more finer, the artistry of, you know, what is making a full-fledged guide, which only a few sites really do. You know, it's IGN, it's Polygon, it's, you know, maybe Extra Life because I haven't checked out their stuff, but a front to back, like what would be the digital equivalent of like a booklet is a bit of a rarity because it does pay off, but like it's a lot. Anyway, TLDR, I was surprised that I'm like, look, some of these things, I'm like, where's like where's the content? Where's the cheese strap pages? Like, you know, and granted, the game just came out, but I'm excited for
I wonder how much
it to happen.
I wonder how much it is the busy season getting in there because they're like, we
Yeah, 'cause
don't
it's
have the budget. We have to budget for the things that are coming out.
And it is a smaller you know, again, like,
Right.
you know why I know this is an indie game? There's not all those articles written about it.
Exactly. That's another thing in its favor.
That's proof that it's an indie game. If this
like,
was a AAA game, we would have ending explained the day it came out.
Yeah, I'm curious to see in a couple weeks how the conversation with Lords of Fallen is, and like if we see guides and like it is Lords of Fallen getting get buried because there's so much positive reception with Liza P and all this stuff. I don't know. Also, should point out just to cover our asses, we keep saying Bloodborne and Soulsborne, whatever. This game is straight up Sekiro. Also, it's a more forgiving Sekiro because of the parry system. If you enjoy parrying, go to Sekiro next. Janet, don't go to Sekiro next.
No, I
Yeah.
know. The way like my mic I like unplugged it. I was like, I'm not gonna say anything here. I don't need to expose it. Yeah, I can't parry. I don't understand.
Yeah, Sekiro was the one FromSoft game. I was like, nope, I'm good.
I didn't
I'm
finish.
great
It's
at
the
I
only
was
one
like,
I
nah.
didn't finish.
I run away. I
Yep.
leave. Like things go down. I turn the other way.
Also, Janet, pro tip: there is, I don't know if I'm assuming you got the grindstone at this point where you could put like
Mhm.
elements on your weapons.
Yeah.
There is a perfect guard one where
That'll
you
be.
you just hold and it just automatically does the perfect guards.
I am also, and we've been going on this for a while, so I do want to wrap up the
Yeah.
Lies of P chat because there's like a lot to go over. But another thing I really like about it is I like the slow onboarding onto mechanics. Like I think
Yeah.
that's very
Good tutorial. on it.
nice. Like the tutorialization, like they kind of, it's like, okay, we're starting you off, and it's like basic stuff. Then they're like, by the way, here's a new weapon. Also, you can take it apart and put like the head on a different handle. It's like, okay, oh, also you have different arms. Also, you can upgrade the arm, and that all happens like. Again, maybe if you play faster, it happens quicker. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is over the course of 20 hours. It's probably like 8. But, I think they slow roll you onto that in a nice way where you can really start to learn all the pieces and see how they work together. And I think they lean into like that harmony really well. Anyway, Lies of P. Hopefully I get to the end of it.
Lies of pretty good.
Lies
game.
of Posh, everybody. I hope everyone gets to enjoy it. We are running a little long, so I just want to do
Sorry.
the rest of these as shout outs. Check out my website for more on Cocoon because spoiler alerts, I love it.
Nice.
Magical
too dumb for it?
Delicacy. Huh?
Am I too dumb for it?
No.
Okay.
Go check it out. Everyone should see it. And then I did put some more time into Goobies.
Hell yeah.
But Janet, what else you got?
My quick shoutouts are also more time into Goobies and Vampire Survivors. I finally played it again. I'm like, Goobies is Lies of P, which is it's awesome, but it's also not like it's the inspired by Vampire Survivors, right? I with my partner we watched Daniel Dwyer's No Clip documentary on Vampire Survivors, which
With
in
the
general,
Buffett.
No Clip's incredible. Vampire Survivors 1 also incredible. Very cute solution to not have the dev on camera. No spoilers. Check it out. I loved it. And when I was watching it, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and buy Vampire Survivors. So I did, and I'm enjoying it. It's fun just playing them kind of back to back and like passing them back and forth and seeing what they each do differently from each other and the different styles. Again, more on that later as I like kind of increase my runs. But that's been kind of my similar to what Jenny was getting at earlier, which I forget what title you said it was for Jenny, that you do like the nighttime games. Vampire and Goobies is like my nighttime. Like on my iPhone in the corner, I have like the Murdaugh Murders on Netflix or whatever that rich family from the South is called. That's playing, and then I'm doing Vampire Survivors and Goobies, and I'm going on runs, and it's fun. So that's my shout outs.
Love it. Jenny, what are your shout outs?
I did start Goobies for the first time this week, which was very exciting. It's like, yeah, Vampire Survivors meets like a lava lamp, and it's so good. It's like it's amazing. I love it. I also Mineko's Night Market launched this week, and I have been playing that for a little bit now. I think it's really interesting because it's one of those that has been in development for quite some time. I think I'm enjoying it. I'm not disappointed, but I do think there are a lot of areas for improvement with this game. If you like repetitive tasks, there's a lot of repetition and sort of habit building in this game that you're going to be going out foraging and maintaining a shop and crafting. There's a lot less, like, I think some of the expectations maybe were about relationship building and farming and like, does it have some of the other typically associated cozy game elements? I would say it's much more of a shop maintenance game than anything else. But there are some really good themes and story around revitalizing towns and economy and tourism that I think are really cool. And the story about this giant mysterious cat named Nico and the agents that are trying to find him and this cute, charming little girl, Mineko, that's also just very cute. So very good if you're looking for something cozy.
I love it. And Mike, give us your shout outs.
Yeah. So Playdate Catalog had their September drop the other day, so I was like, oh, let me pick up a few things. So only put it like 10 to 15 minutes into each of these, so I don't have too much to say. But Castle Tinjangel, I don't know. It's a Castlevania like game. They call it a classic Vania. It's a really cute it's Castlevania. It's OG Castlevania. That what more can you say? Quantum Phantom Basketball is I can't believe this thing runs on Playdate. It is a trippy 1v1 basketball game. I am awful at it, but it's really damn good. It has a full campaign where like you're trying to be recruited into the Quantum Phantom Basketball League, and there's like all these quirky characters, and it's a really great time so far. Again, awful at it. Crank Tanks. This is gonna be a really deep cut. There used to be a Flash game on addictinggames.com. I think it was literally just called Tanks, where you play as a little tank, and like there's one tank on one side of the screen, another tank on the other side of the screen, and you are literally just trying to like arc shots to the other side of the screen to hit the tank. I used to be obsessed with it. That's what this game is. It's great. That's all it is. P Racing, really cool little, again, a game. I don't know how it runs on Playdate, but it's a kart racer to some extent. I guess more Formula One like racer, but an arcade like kart racer. You could go through, just do like the traditional like Grand Prix like races, but there's also like a mission mode. So like you're following a van around, you are catching birds around town, and it seems like there's some sort of loose narrative about some sort of mystery going on around the city. So really good time so far. And then Resident Tale is essentially OG top-down Zelda. I think it's about a 2 to 3 hour experience. It kind of looks like OG Pokemon a little bit, but kind of that Zelda structure of finding chests, finding treasure, meeting characters. Yeah, not super far into it, but so far I'm intrigued. That's that.
Okay. Well, then that is the end of this week's council. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for listening to this extra long, extra special episode 9. It's not episode 8, but you know.
Nothing will be.
If you are interested in following us, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and for now, Google.
Rest in peace.
And then the Indie Council has its own socials now.
Yeah.
Yay! Janet, you want to talk about that for a sec?
I do. And this is not me waiting to pull up the names of them, because it was apparently someone took the Indie Council on Twitter and I'm mad about it. So on Twitter, aka X, aka the beginning of the end, it's at Indie Council _, and then we're also on Blue Sky and Threads as, I believe, just at the Indie Council on both of those. And yeah, this is really, will bare minimum serve as a place to like retweet or organically post out when we have like the audio versions of episodes up, retweet like the Indie Informer for like the video versions of the episodes, and also just like memes basically. You know, one thing I'd love to do, and this is really just kind of like I love social stuff, and I just feel like it'd be cool to have like a place to kind of congregate online in a way. But I would love to also just start kind of maybe putting together lists too of all the games we mention, and just like tweeting out different games we talk about, or just retweeting projects. So yeah, if you're into what we have going on, I think it's a great place to go ahead and follow. And I'm going to try to just keep at minimum, like in all those bios, we have like the card landing page that just has like quick link outs to all the main stuff. I'll probably add like the Indie Informer's YouTube on there just because of the video versions of them. Yeah, so there we go. We have that. It'll be a lot of deep cuts, a lot of memes, and even more games. So check it out.
And with that
up.
Yay! This session is closed. Go play some indies.